And I think we are going free. Can everybody see and hear me okay? Rushing, as always, up to the very last minute to be ready for our time together because there aren't enough seconds in a day. That is how tight things get. Other folks talk about how there's not enough hours in a day. The really busy talk about how there aren't enough minutes in a day. But us in the fight, the struggle and service for white well-being, we talk about there not being enough seconds in a day. We use every one of them for the well-being of our people. It's so gratifying to be with you all. Looks like Laura, hello, good to see you, says that, I guess, yes, that you can hear me. Watch Rider says nice mug, so at least you can, Watch Rider can see me. Biggest Smalls is here, great to see you. And there's the great Seaver Hamlin. Yes, thank you. This is a loaner for, well, specifically for Remembrance Day. And also happy Veterans Day, happy Remembrance Day, when we remember those who have passed and served dutifully. And we'll be talking about that a little bit today. See, Richard is here. He says, hi, Jason. Great to see you. We're 8, Wolf 8 is here. Great to see you. Writes hello. Elaine Sabatino is here. Great to see you. Monkey Pushing Wood. Great to see you. Josh Randall. There's Raymond. You know, he and his wife are here. Lovely people. Some of the best around. Underhill is here. Big welcome to everyone who is brand new to Going Free. I know we have so many people who have written me recently. We'll read some of these statements, positive statements of folks who have written are brand new to Going Free. I've never heard of it. So surprised that something like this actually exists. I appeared on, I don't want to get the name, the Full House the other day. And with Coach is the main host. And it was a splendid time. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with those good gentlemen. It's a show that's for men who have children in our white positive sphere. But they gave me a waiver and I was allowed to participate. Nonetheless, maybe I'll get a waiver again in the future. It was a splendid time with them. And after that show, I received quite a few messages from folks, I guess, whom they had spoken with, because I don't even know if the show has been posted yet. Folks, though, that heard about what we are doing here for the first time. And that's the thing I want you all to appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, is that even though this seems like it's old hat, you know it well, you think everybody knows it as a result, the white positive sphere is enormous and they need to be redeemed. The white positive sphere is full of good people who have gone down, some of them, many of them, bad paths. They've headed down the direction of what the anti-white regime, the anti-white narrative has told them, what they should look, act, and talk like. And some of them have really ruined their lives as a consequence. And we are here to redeem them. So many have been reaching out saying, first time hearing about Going Free, first time hearing about white well-being, amazed that there are a group of people working on tools to rescue our people, to recapture our destiny, and not just another recitation, analysis of the things that ail us, another sort of mental exercise of what a future world could be like if we were to control our destiny again, but actual pragmatic things to do right now to begin with yourself, treating yourself for these mean pathogens, and then reaching out to those in your immediate circle and helping them to go free, and then ever wider circles so we reach more and more people. So don't take for granted that everybody already knows in the white positive sphere that there is this thing called Going Free. There is this thing called serving white well-being. They simply do not. And we need to reach them as soon as we possibly can, because as we were talking about on that podcast, that event horizon is approaching, and we talked here about it. That event horizon is approaching, and there are more and more signs of it every day. We're going to be talking about a story of the healthcare system in the UK today that is evidence, again, that the event horizon is rapidly approaching, where they have implemented a policy to deny care for those who are heretical. Jay Isom says new painting. Who painted it? I'm not sure, but it is a lovely painting. Those are poppies, of course, for the red poppies tomorrow, the representative of Remembrance Day. And we're going to be talking about a new definition for the Remembrance Day, for Veterans Day, for Memorial Day also, and how we should view these things. So I see DJ is here, Polygon, the great Underhill is here. So is Androphin. Great to see you all. JT Smith, of course, the wonderful JT Smith. Shauna is here as I scan through. Now we have both channels are rolling, and I will open Entropy right now, assuming that Google will allow me to do so without giving me too much of a headache. This is now up and running, ladies and gentlemen. And let's make sure as we are getting started here, if you could, we have that feedback coming through. So let me take care of that. If you could grab the URL and share it quickly on Twitter or Kanad or any of these other Gab, any of these other platforms that you have a community in, let them know that we are going free so that we can get to them. Let me pull up these. Okay, we have these links here, so I'll be able to pull up those stories when I want to talk about them. Let's see. Entropy appears to be running perfectly now. So if you want to jump on over to Entropy, you can chat there. If you chat on the chat widget on Entropy, it won't appear on YouTube, but you can read everybody else's chats on YouTube there. You also are a little bit freer to speak on Entropy. You have a questions widget, and you can vote up or down, I think just up on questions, and that will elevate questions to the top of the questions widget to ensure that they get answered or read. So they could be statements as well. And of course, you can also invest on Entropy. You can, if you want to get my attention with a question or a statement, please tag me. You can tag me as Gardening with NWG over on the gardening channel, and I should see that. Let's see who's over there now. Looks like Greek guy is over there. Great to see you. Alleluia is over there. Great to see you. Doomer is over there on gardening channel. Great to see you all. Vivian is there. Wonderful to see you. Heidi, great to see you over there on the gardening channel. So we should be coming through loud and clear on all of the different platforms. There's Outrageously Inoffensive. Wonderful to see you, brother. And Brant Danger is over there. Simon, wonderful to see you. Okay. Goose is over there. All right. So you could tag me as Gardening with NWG on that channel, or you can tag me as No White Guilt on the No White Guilt channel. That'll up the chances that I see your question or statement as we are talking tonight. And of course, you can invest right here on YouTube at 33%, Entropy at 15%, Cash App at 6%. And then you also have Ko-fi at 15%. And finally, the familiar alternative at 6% as well. We already have a super chat from the great Pamela. Great to see you. $9.99. Hello, everyone. Red Eyes member here. Just want to pay at the door to show support. Well, thank you so much. We never make anybody pay at the door, but an extra hug and kiss for you for doing so. Thank you. That's wonderful. Really showing the anti-whites as you come into the party. When you throw money in the air when you come into the party, that's definitely a way to enter the scene and get their attention. I noticed that after we had a couple of smear articles and we created a little cartoon character, and then we raised a bunch of money for White Wellbeing in the name of those talentless typists, they suddenly went away. I wonder why. I wonder why they continue to plague everyone else, and we are able to drive them right off. So it was all the good work that we did. Never Felt Guilty is here. Wonderful name. Great to see you. Rich is here. Great to see you. We do have a super chat that occurred the other day by our good friend Roy Danton, and writing with $9.99 as well. A coincidence, but not the kind we normally talk about. Roy writing, I'm not a member of the Mile High Club, and we're still on the ground, but I've never sent a super chat from inside an aircraft before. And if you go on long enough, I might try their onboard Wi-Fi. Well, thank you so much, my dear friend. $9.99 from the hero Roy Danton, who couldn't help himself even when he's sitting on the tarmac. So I also have, I'm going to try to keep an eye over here on this, on D Live, since I understand that people give things like lemons, and I need to have somebody explain what this means to me, all of these different things. But we do need to build up our community over here on D Live, as it increasingly looks like a parallel contender if things continue to get worse elsewhere. I see Seeing Red is here. Howdy, y'all. Great to see you, brother. Actually, I'm just talking about D Live, and I see Heidi talking about D Live right here. So I will try to keep an eye on that. I need more monitors. For those who have seen my workstation, they already know that I'm pretty well surrounded, but with monitors. But I guess I could use a couple more so that I could see what's taking place on all of these different platforms and really be plugged in for the totality of our time together. I don't want to miss anything or anyone. In fact, we do have another super chat that occurred after we wrapped up last Sunday that I think was on entropy. And I was able to go back and find that. So we will start off with that super chat here in just a moment. But I do have, the picture looks nice and clear over there on D Live. I wonder if it's better than what I see on what you all see on YouTube. Anyhow, how's everybody doing? Have you had a good week? Are you excited for the coming week to spread white well-being? That first comment, or that first super chat that occurred when we wrapped up, that I want to talk about first here is Dresden Burns. Investing, a very sad name, investing $15. And as I say, I believe that was on entropy last Sunday when we wrapped up. And writing here, I'm not feeling at the top of my game right now, but sending some support your way makes me want to tear my hair out a little bit less. Please pray to the gods for me. Well, we do. We send you positive energy, Dresden. We all have those times, and it's perfectly normal to feel down, to feel depressed, to feel melancholic. Those are, it's normal to feel that way. It's normal to look out at the world and see how bad the anti-whites have ruined things, and to feel depressed as a consequence of it. But it's never okay to give up hope. You can allow yourself to feel bad for a moment, and then what you do is what I do, and what works so well for me and is working so well for others, is you take that pain, you take that anguish, and then you let it burn into anger. You let that become a fire that burns into anger, and you wed that to the love for our people. That is a fuel that never dries up. That is a fuel that never runs out. If you look out at the world and you see, like I had someone just tell me the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, that he had gone to the movies and watched, I think it was The Shining, and I guess it was a new make of it. And I said, how was it? I asked, how was it? And he said, well, aside from, I believe he said, a white woman being evil and a black woman being the hero. If this is true, you all can chime in. Of course, it wouldn't be a surprise at all. And I could tell that this what was being presented there depressed him. And why is it depressing? It's depressing because you know that they're talking to the anti-whites and brainwashing everybody who is watching this, infecting them all with these meme pathogens. You know that. And that is something that can get you down. You need to turn that into anger. And then you need to turn that anger into action by doing what I just said. You wed it with the love for our people, and then you get out and you decide, all right, they're going to make this wretched film, or they're going to make this new television series, or they're going to make these commercials that are always showing, for example, that if you're a white person and you have a white mate, your life is always going to be miserable, dumb, backwards. You're going to be making bad decisions. But if you're a white person and you have a non-white mate, well, you're going to be beautiful, and you're always going to be making the right decisions, saving the most money, having the richest experiences. When you see those sorts of things, you're not doing yourself or any of us any good by just lamenting them, by just saying, you know, woe is me, the world is so terrible. Instead, let it get you angry, and then immediately go take action. Use that energy from that anger to take action. Use the energy from the anger that is stirred in you, from the damage being done to our people, to immediately go out and take action. Make sure somebody out there knows that this is going on, that you see it going on, that you see the meme pathogens, that what is taking place is not something that is a quirk, or is not something that art is following the momentum of the people, when in reality, it's the reverse. Art leads the people. You let somebody know the truth, and then you will have made something of their effort, the anti-white effort to infect and harm our people. That's how you should always be. Never let them get away with inflicting harm without a response from you. That is how you should always be. So Dresden, I perfectly understand. You feel down, you feel bad. Maybe you have some other personal things going on in your life that are making you feel this way. But take heart. We have the poppies up today. Stiff upper lip, as our English brothers and sisters like to say, and go back out into the struggle. Allow yourself to feel these feelings of sadness, these feelings of loss, and ignite them. Put the match to those feelings and take action right away. You will feel infinitely better for having done so. Trust in that. There's nothing worse that you can do if you're getting down or depressed about something that's going on in the world, whether it's related to what the anti-whites are doing to us or not. And so much of what's going on that depresses us is, if not directly, indirectly, a result of the anti-whites. In fact, I put a challenge. I've done this several times in open forum situations. And I said, give me a problem from your life, and I can tell you how it is connected to the anti-whites somehow. And in almost every single case, unless it was something perfectly trivial, like there was something perfectly trivial, I can tie it back to the world we live in as a consequence of what the anti-whites are doing to us. So diseases you might have, sicknesses you might have, general ill health you might have, addictions you might have, sleeplessness you might have, bad relationships you might have, whether you are the one who is suffering a bad relationship brought to you by someone else who is broken because of anti-whiteism. And that doesn't mean necessarily that the person is spouting off meme pathogens at you. That person could actually believe that they are red-pilled, as the old term was. We go free, a lifelong process. But that person could be saying red-pilled things and still not capable of holding a normal, healthy relationship with a person because they were so wrecked by anti-whiteism. So it could be that you're the recipient, or it could be that you are so wrecked that you can't function properly in a relationship, and you destroy every relationship that you have been in. You know where to place this blame now. This blame is on the anti-whites, on the world that they have created for us, on the mean pathogens that they have infected you with, the ideas that they have given you that have caused you to go down certain trails of thought, certain branches of thought that could only lead in hardship and suffering at the end. Nothing good is going to come from what the anti-whites give to you when it comes to the thoughts you hold, the actions you take, the people you vote for. Every single thing is going to result in your victimization. So it looks like we have a super chat. over on, actually, let me back this up here on this side because this monitor has backed up on me. So let me look over here. We have a super chat from Robert Brown, not writing any verbiage, super chatting $9.99. And as we like to say here, saying a lot to the anti-whites by doing so. So thank you so much, Robert. I think maybe this is your first time super chatting. If you're new to the community, welcome. Everyone who is new, whether watching live right now or in replay, welcome to you. Please don't feel aloof, like you have to be aloof here. This is a party that wants to throw its arms around everybody that comes in. We want you to heal. We want you to be a better you, physically, mentally, spiritually, and as a community, a better people. We want you to participate. Now, if you're shy and you don't want to comment now, that's fine. You can just watch, you can just learn, you can acquire, go free, and you can begin to learn this material by yourself before you finally feel strong enough to start taking these steps and saying hello, if nothing else, in the super chat or in the chat, live chat. And if you say hello, you're brand new, tag one of the people with the wrench, maybe Laura or Seaver, and they will say, I guarantee you, those are the mods here, they will say hello back to you and welcome you for showing up in our community. So let's see what else we have. JT Smith says, Go Free, excellent book by Jason Kerner, aka No Wine Kill. Thank you so much for that, JT. JT is a hero, ladies and gentlemen, showing up all over chats here and there and sharing the link to the book and sharing just really magnificent of you, JT. Thank you so much. Yonash, ahoy, Jason. Do you know it's been 30 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall? What is your opinion of it? Well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll give an opinion before the end. Heidi says, D-Live chat is tight. Well, I hope that means something good. Let me see. Somebody writes in D-Live chat, I'm new from Canada. Big hello to everybody on D-Live. I will be pulling it up as we are, during the show today. I definitely need to get some more monitors. I need a bank of monitors so I can see all of these different platforms that we're on, and we can communicate with everybody. So great to see you, brand new from Canada. I see Tipsy McStagger over on D-Live. And Nordic Prince, that's a great name, over on D-Live. Is that Cool Patience? That's a cool name. The Dark Traveler, nice. Great to see you. Last Stand is here. It's only the anti-white whites that are the problem. They are a big problem, you're right. Heidi writing, Ray is home all day long. He mods for Poseidon. Oh, that's fantastic. Ray, you still need to fill out your information and links on D-Live so we can donate from there without having to come to YT. Ah, well, that's a great point. I will write myself a note right now while we are live so we can remember to do that. Because there's nothing you all like to do better than just to watch me write notes. We have a comment that I want to bring everybody's attention to that occurred under one of the threads. And that is, okay, this monitor is up again and appears to be working just fine. I see Jay Isom was over on gardening as well with 2 green hearts. Perhaps Jay Isom is Irish or Irish descent. Okay. Padva, great to see you. Kenneth is over there. Great to see you. Celtic Knight as well. Great to see you. Is that Aunt Sally? Hello to you. We had a comment by somebody by the name of Tolerant Left. This is a great learning opportunity, and you all can see this was on the thread of one of my videos. It's a great opportunity to see how what we are teaching here, sharing with each other, growing together, how it works. And you have Tolerant Left here writes in response to one of my Going Free streams, The word crackers, of course, this is a pejorative, using it as a pejorative for Western kind, although you really can't call us a name that means that we are Westmen that is going to hurt our feelings. So, yes. Right, crackers got the worst victim mentality. Now, look at these names. Look at the verbiage here. Look at the name, tolerant left. Now, unless this is understanding that this could potentially be somebody who is just trying to be a troll with that whole account, but who knows? But tolerant left is something you would see from somebody who, in years past, who was anti-white. They would call themselves tolerant. They would use all of these florid sounding words, and make themselves seem like they are the good guys in this story. How all they care about, remember, their bleeding hearts. They taught you all to call them that. They taught you all to call them by all of these names, to use all of this verbiage, even when it was supposed to be a slander that made them out to be caring people, understanding people, tolerant people. And of course, they were never any of that. The entire time, they wanted nothing but to inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. And we can prove that in a million different ways. But what's really fantastic is the dialectics that we use, the lexicon we use, immediately peels back these lies, these pretextual lies that are employed by the anti-whites, and they have no choice but to own up to their villainy. Or you just have to walk away from them. Because if somebody were standing in front of you screaming at the top of their lungs that they're Napoleon, why would you bother trying to explain to them that they're not? You would just go away. So this is what happens with the anti-whites. This is why you will always win with an anti-white when you use this verbiage, when you use these dialectics. The lexicon works, ladies and gentlemen. Tolerant left writes, crackers got the worst victim mentality. Well, what is tolerant left trying to do there? Just a simple psychological trick that very bright anti-white elites came up with to use against those who are trying to stand up, serve the well-being of Western kind. Does anybody know? Does anybody want to try to? I see JC Stalling. Hello, Jason, and our beautiful White Wellbeing community. Great to see you, and a big hello to you as well. Looks like we just had Rolf Meow Kita super chat 99 cents. Thank you so much for your super chat. To the cause of white well-being, we will use every one of those 99 pennies to benefit white babies and protect them from the likes of Milo. Robert Brown writes, so watching and learning, thanks for the warm welcome. Well, you are most welcome, and thank you for your gratitude. Let's see, we have Mary Moon is here. Great to see you again. Amygdala is here. Talking about the projection, I guess, of the anti-whites. Beer Hall Putsch is here. Always open. Great to see you. Zim, wonderful to see you. Walker, great name. Jewel is here. Great to see you. Of course, Jason, the Danish Greek. Great to see you, brother. We have some super chats coming in. I will get to those in just a moment. Let me see. Okay, the screens just went blank there for a moment. A glitch in the matrix. And we will see what we have showing up. Food Police just super chatted with one of those new stickers that you're able, at least I think that it's one of the new stickers you're able to purchase on Google. And I don't know exactly how Google is using these stickers yet. They are a brand new feature to certain streamers. Probably you have to have something like over 5,000 subscribers. Who knows? And you can buy these stickers to put in your super chat. I don't know, and perhaps somebody can inform me whether or not it's the same breakdown. In other words, when you invest on YouTube or Google, they take 33%. And the variation is between 30 and 33%. That's why you will very often hear people just say 30%, but I dig into a little bit more precision. And I don't know if buying these stickers is the same breakdown. Is YouTube only taking 30 to 33%, or are they taking 73% when you buy the sticker? I don't know. But Food Police super chatting $3 with this cute little fox, and it says, "How's it going?" I would imagine if I had to guess, it's going to be the exact same breakdown. So it's probably you get the sticker with your super chat. It's just another way to stimulate a super chat on Google so that they can take their 33%. What is that? Yggdrasil? That's right. Hi, Jason. Great to see you, brother. Snow Shadow RPG is here. Wonderful to see you. We just premiered the just heart-wrenching poem of Snow Shadows that she read herself. England's Defiled Flowers. If you haven't seen it, please wait till after the stream. You will be, it will move you to moistened eyes, if not outright tears. It's a poignant and beautifully sad poem about what is some of the infliction of harm on our people. So thank you so much for that contribution. I like the little fox. How's it going? Well, how's it going back to you, Food Police? Great to see you. Brent Danger writes in my question. Well, first Rick writes, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't hit thumbs up, do it on, please, on both of the channels, No White Guilt and Gardening with NWG. Hopefully it will result in the stream being recommended to others who are currently surfing YouTube. But we'll see if people come in as a consequence of it. If YouTube makes the recommendation and you've shown up here because of it, let us know, because that is information we could use. Brent Danger writing, the intolerant left, referring to the individual who was writing me here, is gaslighting and insulting at the same time. Indeed. Of course, the objective of tolerant left, the objective is to get you, the person who cares about white well-being, to say, oh, no, I'm not a victim. I'm not going to talk about the victimization of what's happening to us. And then what? And then tolerant left has just defeated you, and you look like an ass. You look like a complete imbecile, because tolerant left has just defeated you. If you do not talk about our victimization, you are an idiot. This idea that, and it's for a long time, and I hear it articulated when the people aren't certifiably low IQ'd or insane or undercover and working for the anti-whites. It comes from these guys who, because of this machismo, because they're not actually tough. They want to play like they're tough. You know who these guys are. They're dressing up in the camo every so many weekends, and they're going out and they're using, the cork to smear black on their faces, and they never talk about any victimization, because that just shows weakness. They're idiots. They are idiots, and I've been telling them that for years, and not one of them has ever shown me with any sort of intellectual breakdown how it is intelligent to never talk about your community's victimization. When I can make arguments all day long about the success of other communities who talk about the victimization that is inflicted on their peoples, and how that drives them together, how that causes them to think of themselves as a people. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So some usually beer-bellied loser chugging beer and talking about how you should never talk about how we've been victimized. You shouldn't listen to a word that such an idiot is saying as he rocks in his easy chair. You should absolutely be talking about every single incident of victimization of our people. There is nothing on planet Earth that welds a people more tightly together. For God's sake, these idiots in their camo, hitting the cork with that lighter so they can paint up their faces. These idiots think they know everything there is to know about a certain small group of people. And what do they say about that small group of people, and how united they are, how effectively they work together? They say, oh, well, all they ever talk about is how victimized. They have the longest memories. They remember every victimization. There should be a lesson there, dumbass. There should be a lesson for you, but your IQ is too low to figure it out. Your manhood is too little to admit that our people have been victimized, to admit that we have been defeated. There is nothing more unmanly than to pretend that you are still on top, striding the world, than to pretend that our people are still sitting on top of this world, that we went from continent to continent, and there was nothing, everybody that came against us, every people, every element of nature, every hazard before us, that nothing could stop us. There's nothing less manly than to pretend that we still control any of that. It is foolhardy in the extreme to pretend that we haven't been struck by the viper's daggers. A hero can win every battle, can win every fight, can be the smartest, can be the toughest, can have the longest endurance. And that pit viper can still hit him from the hedge. And that is what has happened to our people. And part of the problem is that we have guys like this. They're guys, they're not men. They play men. They get great big trucks with great big tires. And not everybody who has a great big truck and great big tires is one of these guys. So don't misunderstand. I love nothing more than a jacked up truck that you can really tear up some hills with, mud bogging. But you know these guys, you know who I'm talking about. And they come in slightly different variations and in our different countries. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. These guys who want to pretend that we absolutely cannot have any harm inflicted on us because we are, the best or whatever it is. Bravo Sierra. And that's what this tolerant left is doing here. Tolerant left wants you to not talk about our victimization by anti-whites. Why would an anti-white want you to not talk about it if it wasn't effective? The anti-whites don't want you to talk about our victimization because it is effective. So when they try to mock you and say, oh, you got the victim mentality, that's them admitting to you, ladies and gentlemen, that's them saying to you, please don't talk about all the harm we're causing you. Please don't talk about all of the victimization we are causing your people, your babies, your young children, your countries. Please don't talk about the white erasure. Please don't talk about all of this because we know it's awful. We know that it will weld you together as a people. We know that it will piss you off. We know that it will animate you. We know that it will galvanize you. Please don't talk about it. That's what Tolerant Left is saying when he's trying to mock you out of talking about our victimization. So I wrote back to Tolerant Left and I wrote, LOL, spoken like a true anti-white. Mock our objections to victimization. Why not just admit you are anti-white rather than make this pathetic and cowardly argument to hide behind? Just own that you are anti-white because you're not going to stop me from talking about the harm you inflict on my people. That was my response. That could be a response that you use to the anti-whites when they say something like this to you. So after a couple days, I guess, of thinking of how he should respond, Tolerant Left, or she should respond, or it should respond, Tolerant Left finally writes back, says, no white guilt. I am anti-white. What's your point? Well, my point is victory. That's my point. Do you see how I just won that conversation? Do you see how I just won that argument? Now we know. Now everyone reading this knows. Now everyone hearing this knows what that name that this anti-white vermin chose for him or herself or itself, Tolerant Left, was meant just to deceive you so that you could be deceived long enough and the harm inflicted long enough that there is no retaliation, that there is no recapturing of your destiny, that there is no defense. That this argument that Tolerant Left is making, that you have such a victim mentality, reveals it for what it is. That he or she or it doesn't want you talking about our victimization for all of the aforementioned reasons. So I wrote back to Tolerant Left, well done. See, That was not so hard. Now you don't have to hide behind pathetic pretextual arguments. That is where you need to corner your anti-white interlocutors. He or she or it just came away from that conversation the loser. No longer is Tolerant Left on some artificially constructed high ground preaching down to me about how awful I am. No, now we know that Tolerant Left is nothing but a cretin from the dirty hollows in the streets that has slinked out of that den to inflict harm on us. Now we know what Tolerant Left is all about, and everybody reading that does too. And if you have a conversation these coming holidays, friends, family, or strangers are around, and an anti-white tries to put you in this position, you can handle it just exactly this way. And everybody who hears will suddenly, their whole interpretation of what's taking place, of you being somehow the immoral party and the anti-white being the moral party, will shift. And it is the shift that means we are recapturing our destiny. Don't ever overlook the power of that shift. All of these people talking about, like I had a question during the podcast, shouldn't we focus on projecting power? This is projecting power. Buying a bunch of guns and posing in pictures like a twit, like a gelded twit, is not power. This is power. When you flip the script on the anti-whites, that is power. So let me see what you all are saying. Read some of these super chats. Brand Danger came in with a $5 super chat on the familiar alternative. $5. Thank you very much, good dear friend. One of my favorites. One of my friends showed her true anti-white colors this past week by insulting me and my efforts to wake others up. I've had this happen. It made me mad enough that I'm finally buying a proper PC to start making videos. She can't imagine how much more focused I will be now. Amen. Round of applause for Brand Danger, ladies and gentlemen. That is splendid. Thank you so much for this response that you're giving to this so-called friend. Now, we heard Way of the World made a video recently where he said finally a friendship has come to an end that he had with someone who had a different point of view. Now, this is the other thing, ladies and gentlemen. Don't keep these pieces of human filth in your life. The anti-whites will not tolerate you if they know that you care about the welfare of white babies. They will stop talking to you. They will want nothing to do with you because they think it is immoral to protect white babies. Why would you be friends with someone who thinks it is immoral to protect white children? Get rid of every one of those people. Too long, we've had people, the conservatives, nationalist patriots, all of the, and a great many in the white positive sphere that say, well, we're the tolerant ones. I tolerate the opinions of these anti-whites in my midst. Why do you? They would never tolerate you. Why give them anything that they won't give you, that they won't reciprocate? Get them out of your lives. They are no good for you. What ends up happening, ladies and gentlemen, you know exactly what ends up happening, is you end up in some kind of environment where you have to sit there and stew as they pontificate at the dinner table or pontificate at the lunch counter about this anti-white thing or that anti-white thing. More has to be done here. Always rising anti-Semitism. Always the white guy is the bad guy. And you sit there and stew and you take it like a bitch. Kick these people out of your lives. The next time somebody says that, talks like that in front of you, you just stand up and say, why are you such an anti-white prick? You put them on the spot. You make them tolerate your love for for Western kind, for white civilization. And if they say they have a problem with that, then you say, well, then I have a problem with you because I am going to protect white children. If you don't like that, then you need to go to hell. I am the person who is supremely moral here, not you. You are the one who wants the white children to feel guilty. You are the one who wants to tell every new generation of white babies, as soon as they come from the womb, how evil their people are. and how they need to make amends for their lives. This is why I chose this for my title of my book. Nothing could, or the cover of the book, nothing could be more innocent than the infant child. And this is the only race of children who upon birth is labeled this way. In fact, let me read to you. I hadn't planned on this. I want to read to you right from the very beginning of the book. Enslaved by those proclaiming themselves emancipators, exploited by those calling themselves liberators. Ours is an extraordinary oppression because we are named oppressor at birth, an egregious persecution because we are named persecutor at birth. Ours is a tormentor that justifies escalating cruelty by merely invoking our names. Ours is an inescapable affliction because atonement cannot be made for a grievance never committed, nor will peace ever be made with one so named at birth. Innocent as the pure driven snow, and labeled at birth so that peace could never be made, so that atonement could never be made. Our victimization heightened by merely invoking the names that they give our babies at birth. So don't keep another anti-white bastard in your life. You make them tolerate you. The day is long past that we sit silently and we tolerate their anti-white Bravo Sierra. Thank you very much for that, Brand Danger. Yeah, so his friend here finally showing her true colors by insulting him and his efforts to wake others up, to help others go free. She felt the need to insult him. Well, she can go to hell. Invite her to go live in Detroit. Invite her to go live in any of the inner cities and see how long she survives that environment. No, she sits safely, snug, ensconced in areas built by white men, protected by white men, civilization created by white men, where she's safe, where she sits herself up on her high stool and preaches down that it is immoral for you to try to help our people go free. Well, she wouldn't be so brazen if she had to preach from the streets of Detroit. Josh Randall, super chatting $10 over in the Familiar Alternative. Thank you, good sir. The rise of the Groypers is bringing a new anti-white antagonism. Christian nationalists who deny that white identity exists. It's been kind of blackpilling over the past couple weeks to see Fuentes and EMJ, I guess that's E. Michael Jones, become the face of our movement. They're not the face of our movement, my good friend, but I know what you're saying. And I have heard, I have not seen, and I heard Poseidon speak briefly to some of the things that he has seen, and he admitted that he has not seen a lot. And perhaps you all can fill me in as my eyes and ears of what's going on with the Groypers and Fuentes and E. Michael Jones. But I have seen a couple times and heard from a couple different sources this idea that it's not about our biospirit, which of course is preposterous. Don't feel down, Josh. The Groypers is a fad that won't even live as long as the alt-right fad did. So don't feel bad. That fad is going to pass, and all of these people who are trying to get themselves, trying to buy themselves something from the anti-whites like fools. Not saying everybody who's considers themselves a Groyper is doing this, but there definitely are some who call themselves Groypers who have been doing this. And that is this, trying to get some reprieve, a little bit of reprieve from the anti-whites. Oh no, I don't, it's not biological. No. It's just about this religion. So you're gonna grant me a little bit of reprieve, right? Sure. If they had their way, they would cut your head off first. So I support the Groypers exposing the anti-whites on the right, going out and asking questions. I condemn anyone who is going to put anything before our biospirit. That is to sacrifice our bodies on the altars of our ideas, which is criminally insane. And any thought leader that is actually saying that is a bastard. That is actually encouraging us to pursue such a course of action is a bastard, because it will result in what has always resulted when we have gone down those paths. This is the bridge over the Tacoma Narrows that I talked about that has failed and will fail again. You cannot use the old forms that have already been defeated by the anti-whites and expect a different result. Nothing could be more obvious. Thank you for the super chat, Josh, and for sharing your opinion about what's going on. You just continue telling these people, making it known that it is indeed all about our biospirit. We are going to have pagans of various stripes. We're going to have Christians of various stripes. We're going to have all religions present. We're going to have different views on just about every single thing present in our community, in our people. All of these different views are going to be present, and we're going to be able to resolve every single one of them in an equitable way once we are no longer infected with anti-whiteism. That I can promise you, because we now have this history to come from. If we set up the highest moral, that what is good for Western kind is good, and what harms Western kind is the greatest sin, then no action can be taken to inflict harm on our people. But if you say, well, this particular type of Christianity, or that particular type of nationalism, or this whatever over here, or that over there, then we can be divided and we can be driven against each other like animals. And rest assured, the anti-white elites will, like they did before when those forms were in place, drive us against each other like animals. So thank you very much, and let's keep our eyes open, and you all can fill me in as things unfold. Raymond super chatting over here on the familiar alternative, $5. Thank you, good friend. I can think of no better way than being here with you all going free. Hail our people, hail victory, let's go free. Amen, Raymond. Thank you so much for that. We also have over here on Cash App, Vivian writing a lovely new painting and super chatting $2. Thank you, my dear. Thank you very much for being here. Always here, a great participant in the cause for white well-being. And DB Cooper over here on Cash App. DB, I emailed you. And you're super chatting today, $3. Thank you, good friend. Writing, going free is the best thing I've done for myself. Thank you so much for that testimonial, DB Cooper. That is worth millions, because others are going to be hearing that, and they are going to then look into it, and they too are going to go free. Thank you so much, good sir. Let's see what we have on Ko-fi. We'll keep rolling, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see what take a look at both of these channels as we roll along. I see Marsha is over there on the gardening channel. So is Justin Lee. Great to see you, brother. Rockwell is over there, back from the dead. So let's read some of these positive statements. We're going to keep things rolling right along. We have a funny one to start off with. Zach writing, I don't recall what shirt I was wearing in the thread that he wrote this under, but he said, picture Jason singing, quote, "I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt." And I roared when I read that. That was hilarious. I wrote back to him, that's funny as hell. The only problem is I can't sing. I would have to lip sync. So if you actually want to hear me singing, you can on the No White Guilt channel. I sang Happy Birthday to the after party at our 1-year celebration last year. You'll find that somewhere at the top of the channel. So you can actually hear me sing Happy Birthday. But thank you so much for that, Zach. That gave me a good laugh. KD writing, I'm sneaking in a few minutes of well-being while visiting friends and family. Brilliant, KD. Thank you for doing so. I so miss going free every day. But good news. I talked with a majorly brainwashed family member about racial issues and used some of the lexicon. This man, who watches regime news daily, used the term non-white. I nearly fell out of my chair. Love it. Thank you for sharing that, KD. Thank you for going free, using the lexicon, using the dialectics. You see, ladies and gentlemen, these things work. The more that we compel them to use our dialectics and verbiage, we refield all conversations into our story, viewing the world from our story, from the pages of our book. And in that book, we recapture our destiny. John 100 writing, I like your solutions to white guilt. I never really heard about this safe method to reach our white family, like a mist that cannot be stopped. In peace and love to save our family. Thank you so much, John. Yet again, another proud, heroic member of our people coming forward, didn't know anything about going free, didn't know anything about serving white well-being, and is beginning to use the lexicon, the dialectics, saying, never heard about this safe method to reach our white family like a mist that cannot be stopped. That is exactly what we are doing, good sir. Thank you for sharing your testimonial. Reptile writing, NWG, I met a stranger who claims to be a mutual acquaintance. Maybe true, but they had nothing but nice things to say. Thanks for bringing all of us together. Thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing that information. And I hope folks would have nothing but good things to say about me. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, like all of you. And the one thing that holds true, the one thing that's most important here is that we're not like a lot of these. It's certainly what you used to see in the past when Christianity really took this dog leg toward anti-whiteism, and you suddenly saw a great many of these preachers that presented themselves as holier than thou, without fault or flaw. And then, of course, it was like one after the other discovered to be this in the closet and that in the closet and this in the closet. The thing that holds true here for us is we know this is a movement of redemption. We know that we all have stumbled. We know that we all have made mistakes. We know that we will make mistakes yet to come, but we are never going to surrender that ultimate goal of improving ourselves, doing what's right, doing the right thing, and recapturing our destiny. That's the big difference. So there isn't any sanctimonious, holier than thou talk here. Nobody is as pure as the driven snow, except for those little white babies that the anti-whites brand with those horrible anti-white slurs that go with them. You may not see those words on the flesh of our babies, but I do. And when you go free long enough, you will too. You'll see them walking through the mall with it written all over their faces, all over every exposed part of their flesh, and that they're doing everything they can to try to escape it. Westman Mike writing, I received my copy of Go Free and It's a Comedy, Damn It this past week. I'm looking forward to going free. Born Guilty was truly inspirational. Keep it up, Jason. You are exactly what us Westman, Western kind, needs at this time in history. We are exactly what our people need. Include yourself in that, Mike. Include yourself in that. Absolutely. We are exactly what we need at this time in history. This is how does the saying go? Perhaps it will come back to me, but we are the right, instead of saying the right man for the right period in history, we are the right people for the right period in history. And together, we are going to make this happen, ladies and gentlemen. Bigot Smalls, who is here today, writing, thank you for elaborating, as you do so well, for walking us through the sound thought process. The time for trolling and snarking is well past, to shun any frivolous expressions and guard our credibility out of love for our people. To get us through this moment and build community, by definition, a separation, a migration, both physical and otherwise, neither the isolation of a redoubt nor the isolation of being surrounded by those not of our mind, not of our biospirit. Make sure that any of the groypers who might be wandering off reality and truth and healing and redemption, make sure that they hear what Bigot Smalls had to say. Thank you so much, my dear friend. James Hill, writing, This is something I said the other day while we were going free. Quoting me, he writes, quote, "I am not sorry that I'm going to compel you to be a hero." And James writes, "Best quote I have heard all day." Thank you so much for that. Indeed, we are going to compel each other all the way to every heroic act that before we never thought ourselves possible. Austin writing, "I have been sharing your videos to social media. They mostly hate me, but I will not stop." God bless you. Don't stop. The patient is going to object to the treatment, ladies and gentlemen. Don't give up. You keep putting their faces in it. Remember that when a vague, now this is somebody who is not overly anti-white, when they get really unsettled, that means they're being persuaded by what you're saying. Remember that. When they begin to seem really unsettled, when they begin to see, like, you can see their eyes kind of dart, you can see, if you're looking at them, of course, you can also see it in the way that they respond on posts. But when they really begin to get unsettled, and I'm not so sure about this, that means that they have been internally, they've been persuaded, and they're struggling because the MPs that are inside of them are telling them that they are evil for allowing truth and light to come into their lives, that they are evil for having a higher morality, for answering the call to a greater virtue. So that is a huge rope pull between both of those forces in that person's mind, in their spirit. So don't give up. If in the moment you might have to allow them some space, but don't in the long run, don't stop. So well done, Austin. Think on, Meanie Caldwell. You are very much appreciated. I just found your channel from Gab. Great. Well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you see the community for White Wellbeing continues to grow apace. And we will be here long, long after being a groiper is considered backward and old, and other words that I can't say because this channel will get banned, but others can say on their channels. Mr. Fancy Pup writes, "What's awesome is that you seem to attract a lot of women into your movement. That is very important. Keep up the good work." Well, we attract women to Going Free because this is a movement of love. This is a movement of redemption. This is not a movement of hollow bravado, pointless destruction imagery and all of that nonsense. This is a real living, breathing, heart-beating movement of love for our people, protection for our children, our elderly, our weakest members. That is what will go the long haul, not these short-lived fantasies that perfectly mirror the antagonist in the anti-white narrative. So thank you very much, Mr. Fancy Pup. Ray writing, you're a breath of fresh air for us here in Canada. I think Ray is also a woman new to the cause. And breath of fresh air in Canada. Our heads are just above the water. Looking forward to reading some of your books. Thank you for dedicating your time to us. A natural motivational speaker, I can imagine that there are a lot of enlisted men and veterans listening here for the confidence they are continuously deprived at work. The poison has infiltrated the forces too, after all. There is no telling as to what lengths the message will go, so thank you again. May the gratification for your channel always far outweigh the pressures of trolling viewers and biased critics. Well, it always does. There's nothing that any little dirtbag, any little snarky loser could do or say that could drive me away from the good work that we are doing here for White Wellbeing. Bill Nye, you're one of my favorite voices in the white positive sphere. That's because you're hearing tools here, you're learning tools that will help you in the process of going free, of improving yourself, of becoming a better you, and then rescuing those around you and therefore our community. BBM, it seems as if your viewer and subscriber numbers have been going up. This is very exciting. White positivity is the answer, brother. Well, thank you so much. It absolutely is the answer. And the numbers have been going up and down. I had the anti-whites at YouTube clicked off another 180 or something the other day. And a bunch of people wrote me a handful of people wrote me and said, I was subbed, and all of a sudden I'm no longer subbed. Well, yeah, because some morbidly obese, Twinkie-eating loser decided to start clicking off the subscribers because they can't, they're doing everything they can to suppress us, and know that, again, as the evidence that the event horizon is approaching and we are making great strides. Nick writes, I'm so thankful a broadcast like this is available. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. And then we have a different Bill. If you study Jason's method of coming at this problem and do it his way, then you should be able to be public and not get fired from your job or have too much blowback. In my biz operations, I routinely run into people I have never met before. I bring up our situation, and the reception is almost always positive. In our time, this is the battle that fate has given us. Your people need you to go out there. Go, go, go. Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you for sharing, all of you, for sharing your testimonials of the success of going free, the lexicon, the dialectics, how it's working for you. Of course, all of you have to apply these teachings to your own personal situation as you see fit, depending upon where you want to be in this service to white well-being. Do you want to be completely in the shadows? Do you want to be somewhat in the gray area? Do you want to be out in the daylight on the front lines of conflict? What is your work environment like? Is it a work environment where you can share these thoughts? Do you have to share them in bits and pieces? Who are the people that you're sharing them with? Are they the kind of people that will keep your trust? Are they the kind of people who are going to run directly to the boss and then expound upon what you said into some anti-white antagonist stereotype and to try to get you fired? Keep your wits about you. I want you all to be strong. I want you all to be fit physically, mentally, spiritually in this service to white well-being, because we need strong soldiers if we're going to have a strong defense. Does that make sense? This is why I have given warning after warning to those who are calling themselves groypers today and going out and asking these questions. I heard again another one, please ask questions. If you want to get the anti-whites on the right, you want to get them unsettled, you want to reveal to their white audiences that what they intend is to destroy their futures. Does that make sense? So if you can get those anti-whites on the right, and maybe the people who are the thought leaders right now of or feeding those who consider themselves groypers information, maybe they're already doing this. I don't have the time to watch and keep up with the work they're doing. I'm a very busy person. So if they are doing it, then I just underscore it. And if they're not doing it, then I'm telling you all this. Ask questions of these anti-whites on the right that will, in their answers, will demonstrate to their readers, to their listeners, etc., that the future that they will create, these thought leaders, will be one that will damage their audiences, one that will harm their audiences. So there are a lot of questions there. Do not bring up questions to get a bigger laugh out of your buddies. Because if you set that up as one of your objectives or as your sole objective, you're going to end up asking the edgiest thing you can. Then you're going to be kicked out of university. Your whole family is going to, you're going to have problems with your whole family. You're going to be put under an immense amount of pressure to recant. Don't do it. I need you to be strong for our people. So if these other people aren't warning you about such questions, they should be, and I am. So remember, so we don't have the situation like we had the dust up last month, when there are people who listened to alt-right thought influencers and who decided to have this one-upsmanship and who ended up ruining their lives because they followed bad advice. And then deciding, well, it must be everybody who cares about white well-being or white positivity who's at fault for this. If you hear my voice, if you consider yourself a groyper and you hear this warning and you go out and do something like that, it's your fault. If you hear my voice, you hear the warning I'm giving you, and you do it nonetheless, and you screw yourself up, it's your fault. You own it. Be a man, be a woman, and own it. Otherwise, heed the warning I'm giving you. Stay safe, be strong, and then when this fad passes and you decide, you're not gonna wear that particular set of clothing anymore. You're not going to style your hair that particular way anymore. When you decide to be an adult and the fad is past, you can come here to a real community where there is a living heartbeat who will live from here on through that needle's eye in the future, and we reclaim our destiny. So let me see what you all are saying really quickly, and then we'll get on to this story about the UK national healthcare system. Outrageously inoffensive writing. I'm too, with the musical notes, I'm too sexy for meme pathogens. Too sexy for meme pathogens. So sexy it hurts. Anti-whites. That's fantastic. So maybe somebody needs to make that song. But I had only heard that song a couple times in the distant past, and when I saw that, it was a great joke. Here we have right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a round of applause for CGL Rockwell X or 10, whatever it is, who just testified that Jason kept me from potentially doing violence. Let's get a round of applause for Rockwell, ladies and gentlemen. That is fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that with our community, that you have been taken potentially off the path to violence by going free. This is the thing. This is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, that the anti-whites are going to go again and again. It doesn't, not to other anti-whites. They already hate us. They're going to go to all of our people out there with normal sensibilities, the scores of millions of them in this country alone, but then hundreds of millions around the world. And they're going to say to them, these people just want to commit violence. They want to, if we can get to our brothers and sisters, and we're getting to them, and they know what we're doing here. If we have signs going up that say no white guilt, and then the anti-whites say, no, they pull their car off on the side of the road and they tear the sign down. First of all, if the signs are saying no white guilt, where are the folks going to end up when they people who see this no white guilt, where are they going to end up? What lexicon are they going to come across? What dialectics are they going to land on? Are they going to land on a lexicon and dialectics that are going to encourage them to take on the clothing and demeanor and verbiage, ideology of the bad guy in the anti-white narrative? Hell no. When they start using a search engine to look up no white guilt, they're going to end up in this community. You are going to end up with their ears. You are going to end up with their eyes. And they're going to say, well, what does this mean to be a person in the white positive sphere? And you're going to say, to be an advocate of white well-being is this. When to be an advocate of white well-being, it looks this way, talks this way. And what is that? Whatever we say it is. I said in the podcast the other day, what does it look like? Well, if you are a blue-collar bricklayer, it looks like that. If you are white collar and you're trading shares of stock and the like, it looks like that. It looks like the totality of our people. If you are a law enforcement officer, it looks like that. If you are a general in the military, it looks like that. That's what it looks like to be an advocate for white well-being. If you're a surgeon saving someone's life, irrespective of any immutable characteristics, it looks like that. That's what it looks like to be an advocate for white well-being. So instead of having, as strong as that statement is, it's okay to be white, as strong as that statement is, when you land on it's okay to be white, you're not necessarily going to make it here. And it's a lot easier when the dirtbag who decides to tear the sign down that's over top of the highway, it's a lot easier for him to say, well, it makes it seem like the white race is in this precarious state, and it isn't. And remember, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. If he had gotten up there and said, no white guilt. No, they should feel white guilt. It makes it seem like there's a reason why white people shouldn't feel guilt. Do you see the difference now? What do you think the average white person is going to say when they see the interview and the guy that tears the sign down says, this sign really makes it seem like white people shouldn't have guilt, like white people have done nothing to have guilt? Do you see how that lands a completely different way on our brothers and sisters out there? They're going to say, I don't feel guilt. I don't like the idea of you making me feel guilty for things I didn't do. Go to hell, buddy. So thank everybody. Big salute to everybody. Thank you so much for sharing that you were taken off the path to violence. We need those. First of all, a lot of those folks who are thinking about arming themselves. And they have all this energy for building, for being a craven and isolating themselves in some hole in the ground. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of ingenuity. A lot of these folks are smart. They're just cowards. They haven't been given the recipe of what works, what is going to save what can actually save them. Because they damn well know that if they go dig a hole in the ground, it's going to have to be me and Roy Danton and Art and Robert, new to the community, and Marcia. It's going to be us who come and knock on the door and say, we saved you. You can come out now. We saved civilization. Because if we don't come knock on the door to tell them that we saved civilization, they're going to have a very different knock on that door. And they're not going to be able to do anything to stop it. So we need to take these people who have potentially violence on the mind. We need to redeem them. Potentially they're cowards. They want to build a redoubt somewhere. We need to redeem these people, and we need to take that energy that they would have put into something destructive or selfish and put it to work for white well-being. Does that make sense? Let's do that, ladies and gentlemen. The times are getting tough, and we've got to act. The great Mrs. Horace super chatted $9.99. I think we've had 3 super chats on YouTube at $9.99. Are they limiting the super chats, or? Oh no, we did have the 99 cents. Well, I thought maybe they had limited your option to just $9.99. People might want to give less. They might want to give more. But look, we do have some other ones, so I apologize. Writing here, $9. This is the great Mrs. Horse. Ladies and gentlemen, especially ladies out there, this woman has a fleet of children. Her husband is a hardworking man. A big salute to this family. We all are going to fall short of perfection. That might mean that we fall short of perfection in how well we do at our jobs, how well we study. It can mean a lot of different things. We fall short of perfection in the family that we can or cannot produce. There are a lot of ways to fall short of perfection, but as long as we are always working in the right direction, as long as we always strive for a communal perfection, accepting that we all will fall short for whatever reason, disease, the way we were reared, the mean pathogens we're infected with, as long as we're all headed in that direction, it's acceptable. And some of us will reach the levels of the people like Mrs. Horst and her husband. She writes, as a mother of 9 children, I'm tremendously grateful to listen, read prudent information that I can incorporate into my raising strong, well-adjusted children in this anti-white system. God bless you, Mrs. Horst, for sharing that. God bless you for that super chat. You know, ladies and gentlemen, she's not going to make her children go without for that $9.99. She is going to be going without something for that $9.99 so that we can do for her children. That is the kind of work we're doing here. That is the kind of people we draw to this community. So thank you so much, my dear lady. And we also have Ursa Major with the grizzly bear as the avatar. I love it. $10 on YouTube. Thank you so much. And writing, I think some of these super chats get lost in the ozone. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will pull up the backup, and we'll see if any of them have gotten lost. We'll make sure to get them. We have super chatting over on Ko-fi, Billahora, $21. Thank you so much, my dear friend. 7 cups of coffee for love, loyalty, and unity for all our wonderful white people. The only 3 things we must share, which, when animated and employed with intelligent courage, will bring us into white well-being. Amen, Billahora. Brilliantly written. Thank you so much for the $21, 7 cups of coffee. I try to stay to just 2 a day so that it's 2 cups of coffee and the rest is water, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for all our wonderful white people. Thank you so much, Billahora. What a hero in our community. And you too, ladies and gentlemen out there who are new to this community, you too can be a hero. You too can learn the dialectics here. Those are arguments. If that word is unfamiliar to you, I apologize. Lexicon is the words that we use. We have things called MCs, meme curatives. They're just precepts that counter the meme pathogens that are anti-white precepts. You can think of an anti-white precept as we're all the same. It's just color. It's just the color of our skin that separates. In fact, we're going to come across one of that a little bit later in just a moment. Diversity makes us stronger. Those are MPs. Those are things that weaken you, make you sick, cause you to be less than you are. And so what we do here is we provide you with the words and the arguments that will enable you to treat yourself as we as a community treat each other. And then you will have access to greater physical, mental, and spiritual abilities, things that you cannot access. Imagine for a moment, it's nothing mystical about this. This isn't like some bizarre self-help weird thing you see on a shelf that they push with millions of dollars so that they can make hundreds of millions of dollars off of people. If you were to teach a child that he or she is limited and day after day they are limited, that for whatever it is, they can't do X, Y, or Z, they'll only be harmed, it's only immoral, and you teach them to this for the totality of their lives, are they going to go as far as they could have gone? Of course not. If you were to say to the anti-whites in your life, what would happen for a thought experiment if we were to take all non-white children, and this would be monstrous, so we wouldn't, it's just a thought experiment, and teach them that they are of evil people, that they are of an evil race, that their people have only ever done horrid things throughout all of time, that there's this innate sickness in them to hate others, to exploit others, to etc., etc. Do you really think that they are going to reach their potentials? And the anti-white would, of course, say no. How could they? In fact, all they want from us now is to endlessly tell. They've absolutely converted our schooling system into an environment where facts and evidence and the recitation, memorize things, and learning how to think, none of that matters anymore. All that matters is that they have a big enough boost of their self-confidence. So you're not giving a boost to self-confidence of white children. You're doing the exact opposite. You're poisoning them. You're poisoning them every time you put them in front of a movie. After again, and again. And the white people are the bad guys. And if there are any non-whites that are bad guys, they're always pressed into service, or they have a sympathetic backstory where they were harmed by evil white people, and that's why they have to be the bad guys. That inflicts unimaginable suffering on our babies. Unimaginable. And we have talked about it. I've tweeted about it. We have shown these instances. We have raged at it, where white children are saying again and again and again that they hate being white. They wish they didn't have to be white. And then we see them out in the world doing everything they can to escape being white because of the infliction of harm on them. Dating non-white people, having non-white babies, adopting non-white cultures, all of this. Well, of course, when I go back to the dating, that's not to say that two people of different races couldn't fall in love. That absolutely can happen. But what happens most of the time, in fact, we had somebody, I'm not going to say who it is, we had a conversation with somebody who said that he didn't feel like he was fleeing from Western culture, Western civilization, Western kind, when he went out and dated non-white women. And then when we asked some more questions, did you like being white? No, absolutely did not. Hated everything about being white. So if for everybody who had the least bit of perception, they said, well, wait a second. I'm going to put two and two together here. Hated being white, hated everything about being white, hung out with all the non-white friends, and then dated non-white women. Well, it seems like that was done to escape being white, doesn't it? So, when it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, swims like a duck, it happens to be a duck. So you too, ladies and gentlemen, you can be a hero. You can learn these things that we're teaching. You can improve your lives as people are improving their lives here. And then you can go to your circles of influence and begin to help those people. Make your world a better place rather than just pissing and moaning all the time and then scuttling off into some corner of the internet to find a handful of people who agree with you to lament about it with. Change your world. Change your world. Let's all change our world. And then we will recapture our destiny. So we have Spencer's thoughts. Apropos, named $13.99 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much. Hi, Jason. I just found your stuff. How does one quit the drink for our people? Well, great question. Thank you for being new to the community. Thank you for your kind investment in White Wellbeing. And the way to do it is, first of all, stay here. Go back through these Going Free streams. Listen to the kinds of things we talk about. You'll hear other testimonials of people who gave up alcoholism, hardcore alcoholism. His name escapes me right now. There's a gentleman, if you're listening now, please make sure you give your testimonial again, who said that if he was not listening to Going Free, if he was not reading Go Free, the book, if he was not improving himself, he would be in a pool of vomit with a drink beside him. That's where he would be. Maybe Spencer's thoughts, that's where you would have been as well, if you continue on the path that you're on, instead of improving yourself and improving your community, recapturing our destiny. Having a purpose in life, brother, having a purpose in life that is this noble, that is this heroic, will do more good for you, a meeting, than any conversation you could have with a priest, than any giving endless forgiveness from a God, whether it's a pagan God or the Christian God or whatever. Having a purpose as meaningful as our biospirit and serving that biospirit will do more for you than anything else on planet Earth. This I guarantee you. That gentleman who said that, made those comments, he said instead of being in that state, he was listening live to Going Free while on a treadmill, drinking the water and purifying himself, dropping weight. Start with yourself. Little goals at first. Accept that you're human and that you will stumble, and accept that you're going to make this promise to yourself that every time you have a little stumble, you're going to immediately get back up. You'll forgive yourself for stumbling, but you won't forget. And that will drive you to not stumble again. You keep that shining light of our destiny, recapturing our destiny, in the forefront of your vision, especially as a man, and there'll be nothing that can stop you. Thank you very much, Spencer, for Spencer's thoughts, for your super chat and your question. We have over here on Ko-fi, the teachings of Bigot, $3. Thank you so much, brother. 3 coins in the fountain and back to the cast. Go on. Thank you so much, brother. Yes, I heard them plop right in the water. And make sure when you toss coins in, ladies and gentlemen, that you wish as well. And if you're going to wish, might I suggest that you wish for the health, welfare, and well-being of our little babies who are going to face the world that we give them and no other. Edgar Allen over here on the Familiar Alternative, super chatting $10. This is an earmark tip for the space shuttle technicians required to build all those statues you mentioned. I always ask, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about those who are serving White Wellbeing, the only question is, I say, how tall will the statue be? So that's what Edgar Allen is talking about. Thank you, my good friend. We also have Food Police, super chatting $1. The Anti-White review of Going Free on Amazon has prompted me to purchase a copy. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for stepping up, especially because an Anti-White decided to write a dreadful review. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just getting started, and we're going to get right into this news story. But I mean, we as a community are just getting, things haven't even started to warm up. The burner hasn't started to glow yet. The kind of reviews that you all write under these books, the size that we make of these communities, the interconnectedness that we make, this is all the nerve center. Things will only begin lighting up when we begin to reach out to the tens of millions of our folks. And this, I can guarantee you, is going to happen. I guarantee it. So we are going to be the hub of the great wheel that will turn from this horrible place to that destiny, to that western sunrise that's on the way. Let's get to some more content really quickly so we can keep this rolling, ladies and gentlemen. We have, as some atrocious news, it comes over several news sites, so I don't doubt it. This one's title is UK National Health Service to deny treatment for, quote, racists or sexist language, gestures behavior. National Health Service, NHS Trust, has announced that it will withdraw treatment from patients it deems to be racist or sexist. Of course, these are anti-white slurs. Ladies and gentlemen, never use them yourself. Never use the word racist. Never use the word sexist. These are anti-white terms meant to infect and undermine our well-being. Never use them again. Refer to them as anti-white slurs. If anyone uses them around you, ask them why they would use these anti-white slurs. The North Bristol NHS Trust announced that patients will be subject a sports style disciplinary yellow card and then final red card in which treatment would be withdrawn as soon as it is safe on its official website. The policy would cover not just threatening and offensive language, but also racist or sexist language, gestures, or behavior. So what, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, and this is how you see the writing on the wall when it comes to these sorts of things. And I'll say this, you might say to yourself, you live in New Zealand. What does this matter to you? You live in Texas. What does this matter to you? Well, it matters to you because it's coming to a healthcare system near you. This is the event horizon. These are the kind of things we're going to see more and more of. We've seen banks dropping people. We will live to see the day. And this is why we have to recapture our destiny, ladies and gentlemen. We will live to see the day when prominent people like myself, like Jared George and the rest, are denied the sale of food at grocery stores. We are going to live to see the day when prominent people like myself are denied banking accounts. We are going to see the day when prominent people like myself, and now you can see with the this healthcare, I guess, new policy is what they're calling it, from the North Bristol NHS, we're going to see people being denied healthcare. You're already seeing, and I'm hearing from mothers saying that if they do not submit to anything the family doctor wants to do, then the doctor will not treat their children. We are already seeing that across the United States. And it's coming in the way of parents either not wanting any inoculations or not wanting certain inoculations. And certainly there are some that are demonstrating that they are more dangerous than others. And parents just saying, well, I opt out of that. Instead of the physician saying, okay, well, sign this form saying that you opted out, and so then you can't sue us later if your child gets X, Y, or Z. Instead of that, the doctor is saying, no, you have to do every single thing we say to your child, or your child can go and suffer. So what we're seeing here is the same thing with whether or not you are a heretic. So what they're saying with these, ladies and gentlemen, is in North Bristol, and they're couching this initially. This is the important thing when it comes to the anti-white bastards. They always couch it in a way that is the most acceptable. Then it is applied in a way that is broader. And then after applied in a broader way, they then codify it into the rule or into the law, into the code, whatever it is, the broader application. This is because they're lying pieces of filth. That's what you're up against. Don't project your honesty and fair dealing into the anti-whites. Look at them for the monsters that they are, for the monsters that they have a very long history of demonstrating that they are. So it starts off with this, well, if you are just abusing the staff sort of language. So it says here, it's a troubling caveat given that the NHS has in the past been entangled in large-scale malpractice scandals. We have staff from many backgrounds. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, from all over the world, and we pride ourselves on our commitment. Well, wait a second. I thought that diversity was supposed to be a great strength to us. But now you're saying if we don't get along at all, white people are going to be punished for it. So we have a staff. So because we have this context in which there are people from all over the world, and if you don't like everything they do, everything they say, every way they behave, then we're going to deny you treatment. Well, that doesn't sound like strength to me, you lying bastard. Where was all the strength going to come from? Where were all of the racial hostilities? You remember this meme pathogen, ladies and gentlemen? They said, oh, well, once we get everything thoroughly mixed, where nobody is the same, then all the racial antagonism will go away. No. Now you have to say that if white people dislike anything that any of these other groups do or say or believe in, or, I mean, some of the things might be absolutely to our standards reprehensible, might be immoral. We might worship a God that says that it's a sin, whatever it might be. You have to put up with it if you're white, because if you don't, they're going to punish you for it. They're not going to treat your medical issue. As long as you're not actually dying on their floor, if you die later, if you die 6 hours later, okay. That's what they're saying. That is what these anti-white bastards are saying to you and your children, your loved ones, your friends. That they won't let you die on their floor. They'll get you out. But if you die 6 hours later because you're a heretic, oh well. So it starts off with, we have so many staff from all these different backgrounds around the world, and we don't want anybody saying a word that might hurt their feelings when they're being treated. We don't want somebody saying a word or a statement that they might find objectionable while, you know, they're treating the person in the hospital or a doctor's office or whatever it might be. And if you do say something, well, that they find objectionable, then you're going to be denied health care, even if that means you'll die 6 hours later. So how will this be applied? It's not going to be restricted to whether or not you say something. Now, think about this. How many people out there have tattoos of symbols that at some point in their life, and maybe they still do, revere deeply? When they end up at the hospital with that heart attack or what have you, how are they going to be treated? Are these healthcare practitioners going to look down and maybe they see whatever tattoo on the person's body and say, well, I'm offended by this. I feel that I have been oppressed by this. I feel that uncomfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how they're going to apply these rules. All it's going to take is an anti-white, non-white person to say that they feel like there is an aura. They feel like there's a tension. Well, yes, he or she didn't actually say a particular set of words or actually make fun of my headgear or whatever it is, but I feel like they did. They're looking at me with that way. Rest assured, the anti-whites will apply it that way. And then if you think that that's going to end there, and then, as I say, they'll codify it into the law after the fact, or into the rules after the fact. That it can be just a way, a spirit that is being conveyed. I guarantee it. But then it's going to come down to this too as well, because we know this with anti-whiteism and anti-whites, that it is a insane cult that is purity spiraling itself like there's no tomorrow. We know that what's going to end up happening is you're going to come in there and you're going to have something, a tattoo that is acceptable today, maybe an iron cross, for example. Maybe the pagan with the triangles, or maybe you have some sort of tattoo that is acceptable today. Maybe even a patriotic tattoo. Maybe the Gadsden flag tattoo, and it's acceptable today. But in 10 years from now, that will be grounds for denying you health care. And how about this? We talked about before, it's not good enough to be anti-white enough today for the anti-whites. You have to be anti-white enough for all time for the anti-whites. So 10 years from now, are you going to be denied health care because you were a member of the golf club that only had 5% non-white people? It was okay 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but today you don't get treated for emphysema. Today you don't get treated for cancer. Besides, the whole the floor on which they're treating the oncology is full with people from other parts of the world who have cancer, so they really don't have time for you anyhow. But you were a member of that golfing club that only had 5% non-white people, so now you're denied. How about this, ladies and gentlemen? How about 5, 10, 20 years from now, and they look into your past and you were not a member of an anti-white organization at some point in the past? Oh, you only became a member of an anti-white organization over the past 2 years when you realized that you would be punished for not being a member of an anti-white organization in your past. So it's too late. That is the kind of thing that is coming if we don't recapture our destiny. So what do you do with this information? We talked about it earlier. You use this information to fire you. Many of you will feel fear hearing this sort of thing, hearing this news taking place. You can look it up for yourselves. It may or may not be true. I've got to say it for the anti-white censors, of course. Look it up for yourselves to see if this is true or not. Look up to see if there's somebody named Andrea Young, chief executive for the North Bristol NHS Trust. Look that person up, see if it's real. See if this whole thing is real. Some of you are going to feel fear hearing this information. You're going to feel like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to get into the hospitals. They're going to take our health care away. What can we do? Take that fear right now and set fire to it. Take that fear and make it motivate you. The same kind of fear that you feel when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, gosh, Joe or Jane, your blood pressure's through the roof. You are overweight. You're going to be dead in 5 to 10 years if you don't radically change your lifestyle. You don't say to yourself at that moment, no big deal. You get scared. That's human. And what's heroic is taking that fear and acting on it. Taking that fear, putting it into your heart, wetting it with the anger so that it becomes anger for what's being done to our people. And then you unite that with the love for our people so that any harm inflicted on us is something that angers you. And then you get out into the streets and you make this happen. You get out to your friends, family, and relatives and you help them go free. That is how you handle the fear that comes from this, or the anger that comes from this, that the anti-whites would do such a thing. And I'm going to strongly recommend too, to unite this story with the Groypers and everything else that's going on. Do not go get a tattoo now because you think it's going to be hilarious that says Groyper or says something like this, because you're going to be left with an idiotic tattoo. You're going to look like a fool. People are going to think you're low IQ in the future. And who knows what happens to the possibility of your healthcare being denied you. I have been saying, for those who have been following me for a long time, I have been saying that the refusal to treat our medical needs for those who are obviously heretics, somebody like myself or somebody who has decked themselves out in tattoos that demonstrate that they're heretical, that these folks are going to be denied healthcare in the future. And my prediction has absolutely come true here. We will see more of it in the future. And this is officialdom. This is officialdom. This is not what the anti-white, non-white, who has been taught his or her whole life how evil our people are, when they pull up at that scene where you have suffered a heart attack or you were hit by a car or you were shot or whatever it might be. Many of you don't know that my father was shot by anti-white, non-whites. You can find that story in Born Guilty. You're shot, they show up, you're having a heart attack, they rip your shirt open, they strip you, and then there you have your Gadsden flag, or there you have your whatever it is, there you have Groyper and a little frog or whatever it is, and then an anti-white, non-white who has been taught his or her whole life that everything that's held him back is not his or her inabilities, is not his or her lack of drive, when in fact there is nothing but preferential treatment for non-whites in our society, whether they're anti-white or not. No, they're going to think that every hardship they have suffered and that every imaginable fiction of hardship that some distant relative has suffered is because of the person lying on the ground in front of them, the avatar of the totality of Western kind. What kind of treatment do you think you're going to get from an anti-white, non-white, or even from an anti-white, white person at that moment? It's not going to be good. You're not going to get the best treatment. My guess is they're going to drag their feet. You're going to need that defibrillator really quickly. Well, maybe they take a little long with the defibrillator. Not long enough that they know they're killing you, but they're going to go a little slower than they would have otherwise gone. So let's see what you all are saying. And then I think I will play This Death by Uberfolk. That, of course, is a SUPERCHAT and George. And they have a whole album of great music. And I beseech you all to purchase their music, and by so doing, give them a pat on the back, encouraging them to make more white positive music, maybe even music. Let them know when you purchase it, if you do purchase any of their songs individually, if you can, or as a whole album, if you're able to let them know that you are part of the community for white well-being. Maybe they'll make an entire album dedicated to white well-being in the future. But here we don't support shame. Here, when people create work for white well-being, we give them a pat on the back in whatever way we can. We help support the work that they're doing. So let them be support shamed elsewhere in the white positive sphere. It doesn't happen here. Jonas says, please don't forget about entropy. I won't, my good friend. There's Freya SS Grillix is here. Great to see you. Sterling Price is here. Great to see you. Ray says, what you speak of, this lack of treatment and care for our people, is already happening in elderly care by anti-white, non-white. So I have no doubt it will expand to all of us in time. Very well written. It absolutely is. The stories used to come out more often, didn't they, ladies and gentlemen? Now they're hush crimes. Now they're hush crimes in America, and perhaps you all in the UK, perhaps you all elsewhere, you have similar things going on in our countries around the world, where you have these anti-white, non-whites, both taking care of our children and taking care of our seniors, both when we are in helpless states, and the mistreatment is horrible. Now, this is not to take anything away from the good non-white people who are in those facilities, who are treating our loved ones the same way they would treat their own. God bless them, because this is how we as a people treat others. And we expect our people to treat others. So God bless you all. If you are one of those people and you're hearing this right now, you also know, and you can chime in the live chat or in the thread, if you are a white positive, serving white well-being, non-white person, and you know you have non-white, anti-white coworkers who mistreat the white people, the infants, the elderly, or whatever, you know what they're doing. These kinds of stories used to be very common. And now the anti-whites, they caught on and they said, Jesus, don't tell the white people about that anymore. Don't tell them about, the 85-year-old grandmother who's been raped 85 times in the facility by the anti-white non-whites that are working there. Don't tell anybody about that anymore. That's going to piss them off. So thank you very much, Ray, for getting in with that piece of information. Spencer's Thoughts back again with 20 Canadian dollars, 99 cents. Second question, how does one win oneself a female of our political persuasion? I always go for nines, and I haven't found one on our side yet. I have resources. I have intelligence. All right. Well, if you didn't write the I always go for nines just to clip me out of saying it, that's kind of shooting high. You must be a very good-looking man yourself, and that if that is the case, I would say when it comes to finding a woman of our political persuasion, you're talking about a limited number of women who will honestly admit that they care about white well-being. So your odds are increased dramatically by finding a good white woman who can listen to reason. There are plenty of them out there who can be persuaded by a love for our people. If you come with a boundless love for our people to our white women, and she rejects that, she says, gee, that's immoral or whatever, you want to find that out soon so that you can move on to the next 9 on a scale of 1 to 10 and ask her, let her know how much you love our people and see how she responds. You start off slow. We've talked about this in these streams before. You start off slow. You toss out a couple pieces of information. Maybe you say something, how it's disgraceful how they expose our white children to X, Y, or Z. See her response. If she thinks there's something wrong with that, pay the check and tell her to have a nice day and move on to the next one. You're going to have much more luck, and you're going to increase your odds radically by finding a white woman who is reasonable, who will listen to your love for our people, and who will respond with love and response. Then you will looking for one who is already fervently going free, who is already maybe just in more generally the white positive sphere. The reason is not because there are far fewer women. The reason is because there are far fewer women who are brave enough to own up to it and to admit it, that they care about our people. Why is that? Because the anti-whites victimize us. And if you're a guy, try imagining yourself half your size, half your strength, with bone density, half what your bone density is. You break easy, you get shoved easy, you could get beat up very easily, you could get punched in the face and your face get broken when that happens. Try to imagine yourself in that state and see how brave you would be then. That is how our women, that's the seat from which they view the world. So it's no surprise when they are less apt to speak out than our men. It's not because they are less loyal to our people or to their fathers and brothers and sons. It's because they are scared as all hell. And you would be too if you were as frail as they are. But thank you very much. Come back to us and let us know how you do out there. Maybe you can give me some tips when you come back from success. I see Mandy is here. I don't know if I mentioned you earlier. Hutch is here. Let's see. Ryan, the great Ryan Manley is here. Marcus is here. Good to see you. I don't want to miss. Coconut is here. Hello, my dear lady. I hope you and your husband are doing wonderfully. AJA is here. Great to see you. Make sure I didn't miss any super chats over here. And we will see about getting a song on for you all. Actually, it might be a bit of a non-starter, the song, because when I ran this, I don't know what to call it. Maybe like it's the pre-show, making sure everything was working. It didn't look the same on StreamYard. So we'll see. When we come back, I'm going to tell you all the story of Hoppy Monster. Kind of apropos for the painting as well. Here today, of course, honoring our heroes of all of our countries, of our people. And both the Veterans Day kind of lump in, the Memorial Day, Remembrance Day, all kind of lumped in together. We'll talk about all of that shortly. We're going to go over, when we come back, the equivalency fallacy, because we have a comment from a woman, a white woman, or at least if her avatar is accurate, and her use of the equivalence fallacy. And this is something that you all will be able to use. You all will have faced it 100 times, if once, in conversations with vagues and with anti-whites. You will have faced it 100 times, if once. And where they say, well, non-whites rob churches, white people rob churches, we just shouldn't rob churches. How do you handle that? I'll tell you. We'll handle that when we come back. So let's make sure. I think this is okay. We'll get this great song. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Uberfolk. Album was released not that long ago. Yours truly participated in one of these pieces. I am at the very beginning of it, reading some of Poe's The Raven, and they used a bit of my verbiage there. The song is apropos because it is about autumn. It is about things. I prefer to say going to sleep or hibernating rather than dying, but there are different ways to look at this, or different ways to name it, I guess. And so it's about this time of year for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, of course. In the Southern Hemisphere, it will be a bit out of place, but it also is speaking to the diminution of our power as a people, the the spinning out of control of all that we once cared about. The white erasure, it is speaking to that as well. But there is one line in this magnificent piece of music, and now that I don't think SUPERCHAT is in this piece. I think it's just George is singing in this piece. And there's one line that I want you all to look for, because for me it is the most meaningful line. It's not by me. It's a part of the song itself. And the line is this: "This death will not win. This death will not win." So I want you all to look for that as we see if this works. And you all let me know really quickly. There will be sound. And if you all don't hear the sound, then that will mean that something is amiss. So let me know right away if there is no sound, and I will address it at that point. We'll see if we can do it another way. So here we go. This slow decay in the autumn of the world. This light is leaving us now. The summer has been over. And in the hours when the light grows dim, old can live. True to the memory of summer. This death will not wait. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will adjust. And we will see if we can get this to work this other way, since the sound was coming through the microphone rather than through all right. Can you all still see and hear me? So the sound was coming through the microphone. Can you all still see and hear me? Yes, Chris says yes. Everybody can still see and hear me. So that's good, because StreamYard is having a bit of an issue. But we will, if I am lost, I will, if the stream drops, I will come right back. So hold tight. Entropy is having a bit of a moment, as they, I'm sure that's the technical, or not entropy, I apologize, StreamYard, having a bit of a moment. I assume that's the technical phrase. But we will have it working. Just give me a moment. And let's try to get me back on camera so that I at least am on camera while I work. There we go. So let's see. Interestingly, they have okay. This time we will have it work. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolutely beautiful piece. It's going to sound a lot better this time, I think. Remember to look for the phrase, "This death will not win." I want that to be what you take away from this magnificent piece by Uberfolk. Distinctly, I remember it was in the bleak December, and each severed dying ember brought its ghost upon the floor.
This death, this slow decay in the autumn of the world. This life is leaving us now. The summer has been furled. And in the hours when the light grows dim, it only mold can live. Hold true to the memory of summer. This death will not win. This death on winter's frame, the flowers have all died. Somber is the eye that sees what comes. Foolish is the man who cries. To the future world in the spring of man, we call out with fading breath. There were those in autumn's rose who knew the nature of this death. There were those in autumn's rose who knew the nature of his death. This death, this strange parade, the shuffle to the end, draining all the life where it resides, leaving us with nothing to defend. But even in the moment when the lie might win, and there seems no hope to be found, hold true to the memory of meaning. Don't forsake the sacred ground. This death, each passing day, hangs over all we do. Grains of sand rush through the glass. The hand of life will release you to the future world in the spring of man. We call out with fading breath. There were those in autumn's rose who knew the nature of this death. There were those in autumn's rose who knew the nature of this death.
Absolutely beautiful piece, ladies and gentlemen, by Uberfolk. Let's get a giant round of applause for Uberfolk, George, and SUPERCHAT for the music. I think some people said, Seaver says here, much better. Yggdrasil, a bit low. Seaver says, Heidi says, you have donations you need to get off of D Live. I don't know what do I do to the donations? I don't even know where they are located. I would thank people for chatting or donating over there. If I could figure out where to find, maybe I'll do that on Poseidon, hang out on D Live, and I'll donate live in the currency that I appreciate every donation to unlock. So we had a glitch in the matrix there. Can everybody hear me again okay? And that was a StreamYard error. Appears that I'm back up and running though on a different machine, so they're not connected. Yonash, do you know where have all the flowers gone? Full null, great to see you, brother. Not as good as you had before, but it's muddied, but it's better than earlier. Okay, I guess you were talking about the audio there. Thank you for the feedback. Let's see what else we have here. JT Smith says Philosophicat is high IQ, very beautiful and moral. I love her stuff. She is magnificent. I've known Philosophicat for a great many years in the white positive sphere. Thank you all for all of the applause for them. And remember that if you decide to pat them on the back by buying the album or buying a song or that song in particular, let them know that you came from service to white well-being, and perhaps in the future they'll decide that this is the way to go, this is the community to be in, this is going to be the community that takes us forward through the needle's eye into the recapture of our destiny. And we should be focusing all of our efforts in this community. So thank you very much for that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take a quick look at your Watchrider says they must make the visuals for this. Yeah, there are no visuals for it. It's just the music. Yonash, there's Andre. Good to see Andre. Before I tell you all the harrowing story of Hoppy Monster, because not everything has to be terribly serious, but we will get to that in a moment as I jump over here to Entropy, and we have, looks like I missed a investment from SSII on YouTube. Hail victory, he writes. Please link the band you referenced. I'll put their link in the, you can also find them. You can go right now to No White, on my channel, No White Guilt. And at the very top where there is the, I think it says, actually it's the second playlist down, I believe. And you can just scroll across, you'll find that particular song, and you'll find every link that you need to find their site, their YouTube channel, and all of that. Head over there if you get the chance after the stream, folks, and let's let them know that we love them for the work that they are doing. Let's see, I got this. But Pamela super chatted on YouTube, $1.99. Thank you very much for getting back at us again and writing, Spencer, we do it one day at a time. That was in response to Spencer's thoughts, asking about how to quit the drink one day at a time. You go free one day at a time. Pamela also writing with $1.99. Right, it would be telling them the truth. Perhaps that is for a response to the question about finding a woman, I think. Let's see if I missed anything else. Ursa Major super chatted $10 earlier, didn't write anything. I'm pretty sure I got that one. or did not get that one. I got the other one where Ursa Major wrote, I think some of these super chats get lost in the ozone. Well, you have two that came through, at least that I can see so far. And I will make sure on the backup to see if anything came through, because we don't let anything get lost. We also have Tipsy McStagger, $14 Australian over here on Entropy. Mom told me on the weekend that my cousin's new boyfriend is one of them, and not to spout my rhetoric when I meet him at Christmas. How do I approach this in front of the family who can't see what we do? Fantastic question, Tipsy. There's so many white families who have, by the old standards, been compromised by the anti-whites, where you have the family wants to care about white well-being, but one of the family members, they go out, they bring a new lover in that is non-white, or they bring a friend in that is non-white, and suddenly you feel like, well, you can't say anything because this person might be offended. Well, I'm going to tell you this. This is how, now I'm going to tell you first how I handle it, and you may handle it like this, or you may take a little bit of perhaps a less aggressive approach. For me, I make it really simple. When I have been in environments where there are non-white people present, and we're going to be the possibility of white well-being is going to be discussed, or it almost always is as well, by the way. I let the person know right off the bat, hey, I care about white well-being. I care about my people. If you have a problem with that, then you have a problem, not me. So if you're okay with me caring about white babies, if you're okay with me caring about white erasure and not wanting that to happen, then we're going to get along just fine. But if you have, and this has been the case with every non-white person that I've associated with, and I've been a friend of mine ever since I was in junior high school, they knew that Jason cared about his people, his civilization, his culture, his history, and that if they were going to be around me, they were going to have to be okay with that themselves. If they had a problem with it, then it was their problem, and they were going to have to be out of my presence. But you assert your position. Do not allow your family to ostracize you from your family because some family member is anti-white and going to bring an anti-white, non-white person into the household. You assert your position. Now, I would go into that environment, and this is maybe a less aggressive way to handle this, Tipsy. And I just have to ask, the first question is, are you able to say anything white positive around your family? Do they explode with invective? Do they just vehemently denounce you if you say anything white positive? How do they handle you otherwise when you talk about going free or what have you? You have every bit or more right to be there, to be with your family members than any lover that could be brought into the situation. Never forget that. Never. Folks, I've seen this too many times where a person goes into their own family's get-togethers and they act like they're somehow an outsider if a non-white person is brought into their midst. First of all, don't automatically assume that the non-white person is going to be anti-white. Give them the opportunity to be anti-white. Allow them to be neutral. Allow them to be white positive. So when you get in there, if something comes up, you want to speak your mind. Now, I assume by your question that your mom's saying cousin's new boyfriend is one of them, meaning that it's a non-white person, someone outside the community. So don't spout your rhetoric when you meet him at Christmas. You don't have to confront this person as I would and say, look, I'm going to be saying some things, but it wouldn't hurt. I mean, if you're an adult, you can say to another adult, let me just take you aside for a second. Nice to meet you. I want you to know that I care about Western civilization. I care about my people. And you might hear me say some things along that line. I care about Western civilization. I care about my people. I might complain about the service being denied those who are heretics, who are not anti-white enough. I just learned this story the other day. And if you hear that today and this offends you, then maybe this environment is one where you're going to have to bite your tongue, or maybe it's not the best environment for you. This is my family, and you're going to hear me talk about white well-being at my family functions. Give that person the opportunity to say, hey man, I'm not against your people. I don't want to, I didn't know that they were denying healthcare to people who care about white well-being. Give that person the opportunity to say that. But if they have a problem with it, then you're going to at least establish the context in which the troublemaker is this anti-white who has come into your midst. You do not want to have a family function where you become the troublemaker, where you become the problem to everybody else who's present. You want to establish the context where you are going to allow the other person to be the troublemaker, be the problem at the family get together. And you can say, hey, Tipsy, you say this, hey, if this person just didn't hate white people so much, it would have been fine. I'm just talking about the well-being of our people. So you create that context. Let us know how it goes. We'll learn from your specific interaction, and we'll craft arguments and behaviors moving forward to better suit all of the various members of our community and the different situations that they are faced with, especially these coming holidays. I apologize to you as well, Tipsy, because I know how hard of a situation this is when people have to go to a scenario. And as I said, in the old days, it was a compromising scenario. The family was compromised at that point. Nobody could care about white people at that point, because in the old dialectics, the old lexicon always was a challenge at bare minimum to any of the non-white people who might be present. Do not allow this to compromise your family, ladies and gentlemen. It is a sin. It is a crime if you allow it to undermine your family. Do not allow the presence of a non-white person, married in or dating or otherwise, to prevent you from helping our people go free. A non-white person should have no problem whatsoever if you are helping your family members go free, because it is not a challenge to their survival. It is not a challenge to their employment. It is not a challenge to anything that they're getting out of this world. Least of all is it a challenge to the white person that they have as a mate rather than one of their own. They should be fine with you, just as you would be fine with them serving the well-being of their people. So that is the big difference between then and now. You do not have to allow a non-white in the mix of the family to undermine your service to white well-being. Don't allow it to compromise you. I can't tell you how many times I have had in the decades of being in this cause, had people say, well, I would participate, but the wife's cousin's son is non-white. So what? Well, they might think ill of me. Be a man. Who gives a damn? Grow up. Western civilization has been created and built, envisioned and structured by people infinitely more intelligent and courageous than us. Demonstrated by the fact that we feel too goddamn nervous to stand up for our people because some non-white person might feel a little uneasy. So this is not for you, Tipsy. I'm not criticizing you. I'm criticizing these people from the past that I've had these conversations with, and I guess continue to have these conversations with, where they say, well, it makes me feel nervous. It makes me feel like they might be. No, have an adult conversation with them for Christ's sake. I have had these conversations. I've had these conversations at work. I have had these conversations in sports. I've had these conversations in social settings. You just say, look, this is how I feel. This is what I'm all about. It has nothing to do with you. You're welcome to join me in service to white well-being, I would very much like it if you would say that the harm inflicted on my people is wrong. It would be very meaningful to hear that come from you. And if you don't want to do it, then just stay the hell out of my way. But if you've got a problem with it, then you're an anti-white bastard, and I have a problem with you. So, folks, if you're able to do that in your family, but remember, you want to allow the person who comes in, whether it's a white anti-white or non-white anti-white. I mean, for God's sakes, I've got people talking to me with families that bring family members or dating partners in, or whatever it is, that have no idea, not even what sex they are, whether they're human or not. And these people are in their midst. You better speak up. You better not just sit there and say, yeah, it's totally reasonable that you have no idea what species you are. I mean, come on. Come on. We had people who suffered privation, starvation, fighting wars in sub-zero temperatures, no shoes, inefficient machinery, clothing, people who bled and lost limbs, lost loved ones, lost babies, held their dead babies in their arms to build this great civilization. And we are going to be worried about being called a name. We are going to be worried about whether or not the non-white at the function is going to feel a little uneasy because you want to defend white babies. Talk about a sickness, a rot that is so deep in our souls that there are those of us who feel that it is wrong somehow to defend the well-being of white children. No, you better stand up in those scenarios and let it be known that you care about white well-being. You've got no problem with their presence, unless they're going to be anti-white. Then you've got a big problem. You let them be the source of the problem, so that next time mom calls the cousin and says, look, if you're going to bring the non-white boyfriend, make sure he doesn't misbehave. Make sure he doesn't get under Tipsy's skin. Make sure he doesn't get under all of our skin. Be the people that everyone else has to tiptoe around. Don't be the one who can be asked, because you will, like a mouse, sit silent as some anti-white enters the scenario, white or non-white, and is going to put down our people, is going to uphold anti-whiteism in our midst. Make sure that next time mom calls the cousin and says, make sure your non-white, anti-white boyfriend keeps his mouth off of subjects that are going to get under our skin when it comes to our survival. So thank you very much for that. Ryan Manley on YouTube, super chatting $9.99. We are our own story, brother. God bless you, Ryan. A great participant in this community for white well-being. $9.99 coming from Ryan, and some great verbiage there. Ladies and gentlemen, get your applauding emojis ready. Get them ready, because we have Marcus Cicero super chatting $108 over here on Entropy, because 107 is just crazy and 109 might put an end to the universe. Thank you so much. $108, Marcus, and writing this. This is for the seasons I missed this week, or sessions I missed this week. Always look forward to Sundays with NWG. By the way, how can I find the spot you do on Wednesdays or Thursdays, PWR or something? I can't seem to find it. Well, you can go I don't know where you are in the world, so it's 2 in Eastern United States, 7 in the UK. On Mark Collette's channel is where we do PWR. Right after we're done, he deletes the show from that channel and uploads it to Mark Collette's channel on, what's the other platform? Ladies and gentlemen, anybody want to sound in? BitChute, that's it, right? So thank you very much for that, Marcus. $108 for the well-being of our children, and for the courage to stand up at the house so that the family knows that they need to tiptoe around you if they're going to be talking any anti-white garbage. Blue Cigar Gaming, super chatting $2 Canadian. Thank you so much over on YouTube. Have you seen what is happening in Greece? Well, what specifically? I'm not sure. And I think talking about Greece, I think I saw my dear brother Poseidon in the chat swing by as the chat is racing by over here on Entropy. Marcus says, gets back at me, thanks for the PWR tips. Indeed. Vivian, the great Vivian over here, super chatting again, this time on Entropy, $3. Just testing. All stay gifting on Cash App. Well, thank you so much. You worked here and it worked there, my dear lady. And then we had Pamela. So we got Pamela earlier. I think we had a couple more come in. SSII, super chatting $4, writing, I like your positivity. We need more of it. Thank you very much. You're welcome. And you're right. We do. We absolutely need to be more positive because we have a lot of things to be positive about, ladies and gentlemen. We have a rapidly growing community for white well-being. We have our dialectics and lexicon being taken up by thought influencers who have far larger audiences than I have. And what does that mean? That means they're eventually all going to be here with us, and we're going to be growing. We have the event horizon rapidly approaching. The anti-whites are struggling with all their might to hold back tomorrow. There's so much to be excited about. So thank you very much. SSII, $4 on YouTube. Then we have Spencer's Thoughts back again, $20.99 Canadian dollars. Thank you, my dear friend. Money burning holes in his pockets. I'm writing, thanks for your help. I'm good looking and blessed. Oh God, I'm not reading that. Then that would be clipped right out for somewhere else. My question is more to how I get non-white positive women toward our side. Thanks again for all you do. My question is more to how I get non-white positive women toward our side. So you want to bring non-white women over to our side? Is that what you're asking? Not quite sure. Get back to me, brother. Tag me. You don't have to super chat again. And on either of the channels, and I will speak to your question. And then, of course, we have Jonash. Do you know it's been 30 years? Ah, yes, the Berlin Wall. Well, maybe we'll talk about that and what happened there. And I guess we're kind of talking about it and talking about Remembrance Day, which is, of course, tomorrow. And that is why we have the painting on loan behind me with the lovely poppies. What effect did the Iron Curtain have on our people in Central and Eastern Europe? Jonash also asks. Well, a lot of people have talked about how it had preserved them from much of the mean pathogens that the rest of us faced in the rest of the Western world. But regrettably, we are seeing the Eastern Europe being infected rapidly. We just saw, I think, Poland has accepted this visas with the United States so that folks can travel back and forth and work in each country a little easier, which will mean, regrettably, that this tiny country of Poland is now going to be infected with a great swarm of anti-whites who want to do business over there. And they'll bring their anti-white ideas. They'll hire and promote anti-whites. People will adopt anti-whiteism in order to get those promotions. That means the business community will begin to make money off of the anti-whites traveling from the United States as tourists to Poland. And then the businesses will begin to influence and put pressure on political figures in Poland. This is why it's a bad thing. Put pressure on the political leaders in Poland to come to anti-white conclusions, opposed in direct opposition to what our people in Poland want. So we don't want more of that. We want less of that. We want these countries to close their doors to countries who are already heavily infected, while we can keep these places as healthy as possible while healing the rest of the West. All right, let's continue moving right along. And I will tell you all about I will tell you all about Hoppy Monster. Let me make sure I have all of the, and this is a personal story about the Hoppy Monster. There's Chris is with us. Underhill's still with us. Great to see you. Mandy says, talking about the question that came up, that he means, Spencer's thoughts means white women who have white guilt. Well, white guilt, of course, is one of the main features of white noir. And how do you treat white noir? Well, you treat white noir by treating the mean pathogens, by treating the MPs. So you have to speak directly to these MPs. And you can learn to do that by first listening here and acquiring Go Free and using the techniques in Go Free to help her see that she is indeed, like you, pardon me, like all of us, infected with mean pathogens that we have to treat for the totality of our lives. That is how you treat white guilt. That is how you bring women over to the service of white well-being who are not already here, or who are not already, to whatever degree, congruent with the kind of things we say, the kind of work we do. And there are, as I say, far more than you think there are out there. Red Pill Bulgaria, what he means is white women also saying the same thing, who are not white positive. Gotcha. Right, ladies with white guilt, indeed. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing for you ladies out there who are dealing with men who have white guilt. And the thing is about white guilt, we are all suffering with it. We all will suffer with it. Any white person who would say outright that they don't have white noir, they're not suffering in any way, is just lying, or they just are ignorant. And ignorance just means that you don't know yet. So once you learn the truth, once you see how grievously you are indeed affected by mean pathogens, by the white guilt, once you begin to wrap your fingers around this, and I tell the story of a woman in Go Free, others have written me, others who are in the live chat right now have written me and said, well, when I first started to think about it, and I thought that I was infected with maybe these 5, these 10 mean pathogens, or these thoughts had come through my mind, and I thought that they were true, or I'd learned them at some point in the distant past and always hated them, but they're in my head. And then upon deeper reflection, they come back and say, it's 5 times that amount. It's 8 times that amount. And it's just this wide-eyed, oh my God, so much of who I believe myself to be is bound up with anti-whiteism. No wonder you have a problem with confidence. No wonder you can't ask for that raise. No wonder you didn't strive hard enough for the job you wanted or the education you wanted. No wonder you thought, and then proved by way of your own prediction, that you would fail when you set off to accomplish X, Y, or Z. No wonder when you finally put your finger on the causes of these things, it becomes very clear to you. I tell the story of a little boy that I named Buddy Smith in the book and Go Free. And when you read about Buddy, these things become very clear to you. You'll see how it perfectly mirrors the thoughts that you have had in your life. The success of this is because when folks read it, and this is why the anti-whites have been doing all that they can to prevent this information from reaching us, is because when you read it, you're going to say, you'll have these epiphanies again and again to stories in your own life. My God, I remember when I learned that. I remember when I thought this way because of that. I remember how I felt when we were told X, Y, or Z. When I saw that miserable neighborhood. And you'll see how it all fits perfectly like a puzzle piece into your world. And then you'll realize something has to be done. This is really indeed what has infected me. And the answers are there so that you can start curing yourself and then treating those around you. So Spencer's thoughts, you begin with you. You begin treating yourself for the mean pathogens that you're infected with, treating your own white noir. Once you get some of that information and knowledge, you can then go out to the people around you and share that information with them as well. Every white woman, and I've only dated white women, but every woman I dated, I had to bring to White Wellbeing, and I never failed. When I came across a white woman that was just vehemently anti-white, she started off with some revolting anti-white sort of verbiage. I just said, thank you, have a nice day, and I got away from there. The same way I would if we went out on a first date and she said, oh, hold on, let me just take my heroin. I would say, check, and I would get the hell out of there. So that's the exact same way that I treated, if somebody is vehemently anti-white, just move away. If they can heed some reason, you can treat them. And as I say, women can do the same thing for their men. Don't accept, if the man is vehemently anti-white, then you do the same thing. If he says, well, let me just, before we get started here today, he's just going to do some drugs, then you just get out of there. Same thing with anti-whiteism. If he says, well, all of these XYZ anti-white precepts, just say, have a nice day, buddy. Really, if a male is behaving this way, something is really, really wrong. And all the guys in the live chat can attest to that. LG, thank you so much, is here and writes, on fire tonight, I love it. Thank you so much. Eternalism is here. Good to see you, good brother. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to the story about, a personal story about Hoppy Monster. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you share your tips for going free with friends and family, and even with strangers, say it's a stranger you regularly see at a bus stop or on a subway train, and you regularly see them, don't fail to share with them other parts of yourself. You are a three-dimensional being. You are not a two-dimensional being in the anti-white narrative. If you only ever talk about going free or serving white well-being, which you're going to talk about it because the hour is late, but if that's all you ever talk about, say the beginning of the family function to the end, people are going to see you as that character from the anti-white narrative, from these sessions, these shows of CSI and Friends and whatever shows they show on TV. Now I don't watch. They'll see you as that two-dimensional demon. And then they'll categorize you and they won't listen to anything else you say. So you will share other stories of yourself, other aspects of yourself with these folks. And I'm going to share a quick story with you all about, let's see if I can find it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you last time. I showed you this picture, when I was out at the steeplechases with the very wealthy all around me there. And I told you all about the argument of sorts that I had with one of the wealthy people who told me that, well, they would bring in these non-white peoples from these other lands. And then as the environment changed and the crime went up and it started looking a lot more like the environment whence these people came, they would just build very high walls around their castle homes. And when I challenged him about what would the rest of us do and how selfish it was that he would do this and that his friend, this other very rich woman, would do that, he didn't have much to say in return. I forgot to share this picture, which is the horses in mid-jump during the steeplechase. It was a very lovely day, as you can see, in the Plains, Virginia, which is where the book takes place. You come, the Born Guilty book, you come to visit me in the Plains, Virginia, while I was living out there. We go back in time together, and as you're with me, I give you stories. I share stories about things that will be edifying for you, almost every single one of you. You also read from a book called The Crucible and Prometheus Rising. But this is right down the road from where I lived at that time in the Plains, Virginia. It was lovely. These were the majestic horses that I was referring to. But that's not going to be what we're talking about now. What we're going to talk about now is the Hoppy Monster. I don't know if you all can see the Hoppy Monster on the picture, on the screen. I named him thus because he ate many of the landlord's plants and some of mine. And I will tell you how I came into my association very briefly, the story of the Hoppy Monster. I was walking into my backyard one day, and I heard a high-pitched scream, ear-piercing scream. And it paused. I didn't know what the hell that was. And I took a few more steps, and another high-pitched scream, and I paused again. This was midday, and suddenly I saw a eastern cottontail rabbit race from left to right in front of me, through the fence, and then was gone in a minute. And I didn't know if that rabbit had made the noise or what had made the noise. But I took a few more steps, and I saw a couple of crows fly by, and so I thought maybe they made the noise. And I went into the backyard, and I began doing whatever I was doing. And then suddenly, the crows flew by again, 2 crows. Magnificent, by the way. I'll share some of the pictures of them one day. They are very large crows. I think there must be fish crows. But nonetheless, one of the crows was carrying what's called a kit, a baby rabbit, in its beak. And the kit let out another ear-piercing scream. I guess a scream for its life. And the crow was having a hard time staying aloft, but something happened to me. I don't know what it was, something primal. I know that crows need to eat, but I guess the screech sounded so much like a human infant that I leapt into action, and I took off after the crows. I leapt the fence in my yard, a single bound, and sprinting leapt another fence, a chain link fence at that point, into a parking lot, and continued to sprint after the crows. And the crow carrying the kit was having a very difficult time staying airborne. It was flapping vigorously. And the crows, very bright animals, kept looking back at me, seeing that I was in hot pursuit. And finally, the crows decided to land on a little island of grass in the middle of a parking lot, and saw that I was still at a full sprint toward the crows, not nearly as fast as I was back when I was playing sports, but nonetheless faster than most. And the crows decided to fly off. They gave up their prey. And I'm sure by pure accident, although some people have told me that it was not accidental, this cute little wounded rabbit, tiny rabbit, fit in the palm of my hand, ran toward me. And I scooped him up, and he had little blood on his ear from where his ear had been torn, making him utterly distinguishable from other cottontails. And he was shaking. He was obviously traumatized from the attack. I brought him back to my yard, and I put him back roughly where I thought he must live. And then a few weeks later, I didn't know what happened to him. A few weeks later, I saw who I named Hoppy out and about, hopping around with a clip missing from one of his ears. And as he grew older, he found himself a female, a doe, and they had babies, but he got full size. And I added to his name Monster because he ate everything precious. Everything lovely in the yard tasted wonderful to the Hoppy Monster. And since then, I'm quite sure that all of the rabbits that show up to eat everything in the garden, and now is the reason why I have to soak it with the awful smelling repellent to keep the rabbits from eating everything, I'm sure he is their sire. And that, my friends, is the story of the Hoppy Monster. Perhaps some of you have stories of dealing with wildlife that seem to have acted in ways that might have been abnormal, running to you for safety, perhaps. We have some super chats. Let's check this out. Raymond, super chats $5. Shout out on DLive chat. We had a non-white and anti-white troll over there with no mods. Everyone handled themselves well with no slurs. He just went away because he was unable to piss anyone off. Hail, D Live Chat. Well, hail to you all. Well done. That is magnificent. To you all. That's the kind of thing. If I can look back through that chat when I'm done here, I will look back and see what everybody wrote. That's magnificent. Well done, everybody. That is exactly the kind of thing we have to be doing. And thank you, Raymond, for letting me know. Thank you for the super chat. A great couple. Zero Talent also super chatted here, $2 by way of the familiar alternatives, writing, "You're doing great work. Keep it up." Well, thank you. So are you, Zero Talent. And thank you for being here as well. We will refresh these other options as well. Make sure that we get everybody's super chats, everybody's comments. Looks like Polygon super chatted over here on YouTube, $4.99. Didn't write anything, but as always, said a lot to the anti-whites with that $4.99, that we are not giving up. We're working class people, and we're going to continue to shake the pillars of heaven until we raise the roof. And those elites, those anti-white elites up there, finally realize that there's a storm coming for them, a storm coming up from underneath. And all of those white vagues that have the millions, people perhaps who are vagues rather than anti-whites, like the Mr. Pie, the millionaire, decide that it is in their interests to abandon the anti-whites up there in the lofty heights and to come down here and join the real people, the good people of Western kind, who have said enough is enough. We are now going to be listened to. No more ignoring our wishes, our pleas, and what we want for our civilization. You are going to hear us, or we will bring down this house, and we will make our destiny ours again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the equivalence fallacy right now. And we're going to roll on to Remembrance Day and my observations of that, and we're going to check out of here. Equivalence fallacy. This is when anti-whites, and I talk about this in Go Free, this is when the anti-whites draw tenuous equivalencies between non-white and white behavior in order to play down, this is the reason why they do it. Remember, this is the reason why they use the equivalency fallacy, to play down objectionable non-white behavior. It's done all the time on places like the Young Turks. In fact, people have sent me snipped out vids of theirs, and almost 100% of them, they employ the equivalence fallacy. This is like saying, or say a great example is non-whites murder, white people murder, so both groups of people are the same. This is like saying that paper cuts hurt, cancer hurts, so they are the same thing. It is the equivalence fallacy. Now, I had a woman who employed the equivalence fallacy under my tweet that I just made the other day, showing the anti-white, non-white males who had abducted for a time and imprisoned in their vehicle a young white boy, and they had, I think, 4 or 5 guns at his heart and head simultaneously as he sat in the back seat of this car, abused. They cursed him. I had to snip out the audio where they said a racial slur of themselves so many times it drove me insane that I had to keep clipping and clipping and clipping and clipping. It was like they had to say that word every 4th word or they were unable to speak. But we know that if I hadn't clipped these, the anti-whites at Twitter would say, "Oh, you have this racial slur on your Twitter feed, and so now you don't get to have a Twitter with us," even though they would allow these people to use that word every 4th word. So I clipped them out. They punched him in the face with his glasses on. Almost, I'm sure it was blurry, but I'm sure the glasses were broken in some way. Glasses are not cheap. They terrorized him. They terrified him. You heard in his voice him screaming for his life, what they want. Take everything you want. What do you want? We want everything. They're saying, yelling at him, "We want everything." And indeed, in the rest of the video, I didn't put the whole video up. They took everything they could, his shoes, his wallet, his phone, everything they could get off of him. What else do they want from us, ladies and gentlemen, the anti-whites, whether white or non-white? They want your blood. They want you dead. They want white erasure. There is no pacifying. There is no placating. There is no buying another day away with giving somebody else's money away, somebody else's hard-earned living away, voting for it again and again and again, white flighting into another distant neighborhood, white flighting now, many people saying, into the countryside, into the hills, into the mountains, white flighting another salary into the hands of the anti-whites, whether non-white or white, to please placate, please leave us alone. It's understandable that our women are going to want to placate. They're going to think this is what we have to do. Men of the white race, I speak to you. Our women do this because they have millennia riding and writhing through their veins to help them help children get along. This is why their immediate response is placate. Everybody get along. Because you needed to have the youth get along. You needed people who could be able to make them get along and make everything fair for them so that they could grow to be adults rather than kill each other in their youth. Men of the West, I say this to you. You need to ignore our women when it comes to these pleas to placate. And women out there will be exceptions. I understand. I understand that plenty of you that are here with us are done with placating anti-whites. But men of the West, when you hear this, you need to understand where it's coming from. I understand, honey, but now we have to defend the West. I understand why you would come to that conclusion. Now is the time to defend the West. Now is the time for the men of the West to step up and do what men do, especially what white men do. Now is the time, honey, for you to go to the back, tend to the house and children. Make sure that they don't fight, that you placate the aggrieved children, and let the men of the West do what it's time for the men of the West to do. And guys out there, if you can't stand up for our people, if you can't do what is required of a man to do, you are no man. I don't care what you have between your legs. So I had this white woman in response to that tweet and that video write to me, and I said at the beginning of this tweet, attention nationalists, conservatives, what else did I say? Patriots, attention all of these different groups. And the reason why I wanted to bring their attention to this is because they are all abstractionists. For all of these different groups, we exist in an abstraction, a set of ideas. This is what the Groypers can attack the anti-whites on the right for. For all of this, they are just abstractionists. It's a set of ideas that you sacrifice the flesh on over and over and over. And if we don't put an end to it, there'll be no more flesh to sacrifice on that altar of ideas. So how does this white woman respond to me? This particular woman, not all white women, not the majority of white women, this woman, a white woman who is sick with white noir. Just as many white men are sick with white noir. How does this abstractionist respond? She demonstrates that she utterly misses the point of the post. And I mean utterly. She writes, among other things, quote, okay, like, no big deal. No big deal. It's a big deal, but yeah, it's not. This is what she said. Okay, big cowards, she writes, in groups picking on the weak. Bullies are the same no matter what color they are. Did you hear that? The equivalence fallacy. Get along, children. No one child is worse than any others. There's no biospirit in the races of man that distinguish us instinctually. Just because we all create and have always created different cultures, just because this has always held true throughout all of human history, since time immemorial, this has held true. And yet it's still not true. Bullies are the same, no matter what their color is. Equivalence fallacy. She's saying that these people, she's playing down She's whitewashing their behavior. How sick, how utterly corrupt of spirit and soul, body and sinew, that she would play down the horrific treatment of one of our little boys, whitewash it, dismiss it. It's just to be a bully. She is an abstractionist. She is a vague, suffering grievously from white noir. You know this anti-white slug wouldn't play down the same exact scenario reversed. She would not say bullies are the same no matter their color. If it were 6, 7 white guys with 5 pistols at the head of some poor non-white child saying that they're going to take everything from him. What does he want? Everything, as he screams for mercy. Everything they want. No idea what's going to become of him with a pistol up to his head and in his heart. And this white pig is going to downplay their behavior with the equivalence fallacy. Well, the way you treat the equivalence fallacy, I haven't responded to her yet. I wanted to save it for you all. Maybe you all might like to go on to my Twitter and all respond to this anti-white, white pigs playing down of the behavior of these anti-white non-whites. The first thing you do is you point out that it is a use of the equivalence fallacy. We are not the same peoples. We have different instincts. Those instincts are manifested in all ways through all things. It is no different than all of the other differences that between the different groups of man that can be graphed. And of course, for our censors, this may or may not be true. You have to look it up for yourself. But we see differences in disease patterns, responses to medications, a wide range, a long and wide range. And not the least of these things, as is the case with all animals on planet Earth, is instinct, ladies and gentlemen. Does one animal of one breed, but a different race, a different breed of that animal, not behave differently than another? Of course they do. We are no different. Even if you dip souls into these bodies, these are still the bodies of mammals. And we have instincts like every other mammal. And we see those instincts, and those instincts projected on our environments in their aggregate is what we call culture. That is why everywhere the white man goes, there's Western culture. Everywhere the black man goes, there's black culture. Everywhere the Asian man goes, there's Asian culture. The other thing you have to mention here to this white pig is that she's an abstractionist. She's sacrificing our flesh on the body, on the altar of our ideas. Nothing so stupid can be allowed to continue. Never give up the opportunity to tell these people that they are sacrificing our flesh, the source of these ideas, on the altar of these ideas. How utterly depraved and asinine. Cancer and paper cuts are not the same thing, even though they both hurt. Make sure this white pig knows what she has done. And make sure that she knows that she's part of the problem. How disgusting it is. Not her individually, but her collectively. Her as all of those anti-whites in your lives that are using these same tactics on you. Instinct, madam, is not choice. You are not choosing to have a different instinct. You are not choosing a person of a different race is not going to be able to choose to be a different race. And also do not allow these anti-white pigs to reduce our peoplehood to a color. Just because we use the word white or the word black as an ancillary term to Westman and Western kind doesn't mean that we are a color I figured this out in elementary school. And then I carried it in argument at junior high school. Never allow one of these individuals, abstractionist, vague, anti-white, whatever it is, to reduce our peoplehood to a color. You've just been colored differently, as though we're all in this coloring book and somebody just used different crayons for you and different crayons. I could tell in elementary school, I said with my friend, my black friend by my side, what name can I use for him? I'll call him Steve. Steve sitting right beside me. I said, we're not just different in color. Steve, my friend sitting right beside me, has different hair. He's got a different skull. He's got different eyes. He acts differently than the rest of my white friends. And I was in elementary school. And what did this teacher? Well, yes, Jason, but it's just and I almost said his real name. I apologize. That was close. Steve said, or Steve didn't say. Steve was going, yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah, we do act different. Yep. Skull different. Everything I'm saying. Yep. This is, I guess, the honesty of the child. And then the teacher trying to just play, well, we just say that as kind of a shorthand. You just say, no, it's not a shorthand. Adults say it to each other. Grown people. It's just a different color. Don't ever allow them to reduce our peoplehood to that again. So if you want, you can respond to this woman on my Twitter. You don't be hostile, of course. You just tell it like it is. Let me see what you all are saying, and then we will finish up here. And I think what I will do, I had my contact with All Things English not get back to me in time, so I think I might wrap up in just a moment. We're going to talk about Remembrance Day and the way I think we should view Remembrance Day from now on as a global people, with a single people, a global people with numerous countries. We are not numerous countries that are similar. We are not numerous countries that are all Western. We are a single people. That is us in South Africa. That is us in Greece. That is us in Germany. That is us, who the young women being mass gang raped in the UK. That is us getting arrested in Australia, New Zealand, for these anti-white laws that don't allow you to defend yourself, to even have a belt that you could use for self-defense. That is us. That means that if you are Italian, you are also Canadian. You are also American. You are also British. You can't be an immigrant to the West if you're a Westman, because it is your biospirit. Does that make sense? The only people who can be an immigrant to Western countries are non-white peoples, and you are a foreigner in their lands. You are a Canadian, a German, a Norwegian. You are all of these things if you are a Westman. Why? Because all of it is in your biospirit. Every ounce of what it took to make Sweden Swedish is inside of you. Every ounce of what it took to make Australia Australian is inside of you as a Westman. We are a single people with many countries, a single people with many languages, a single people, all with slightly different hues on Western civilization. I think what I'll do, though, is I might wrap up with a cold reading. I have never read this before. Well, that's not true. I've read it. I've never practiced it years in the past. A poem called The Soldier by Rupert Burke, to commemorate or observe Remembrance Day. I hope it is an apt selection, as my contact with All Things English didn't get back to me. I see here we have a super chat from Lady Mjolnir, super chatting $10. Thank you, my dear lady. I responded and will be your, or maybe, I guess, Maybe I shouldn't say because your husband wrote to me. But Lady Mjolnir, super chatting $10. Thank you so very much. Writing, greetings, brother. Sending a little something to offset any support shaming. Love our beautiful community. Love our sphere. Amen to that. God bless you. Thank you so much. They have tried to show up here before and try to support shame me. And this community responded triumphantly. It went down. It was a real turning point. I think everybody who was here, I know you remember it. And that day, it was a real, how many people showed up? Maybe half a dozen showed up, newcomers suddenly showed up, and it was all support shaming, all support, just one comment after another, challenging my integrity, challenging, etc. And how did everybody respond? Suddenly, it was like you were in a theater, and I was up on the stage talking about white well-being, and you had these people come in trying to shout me down. And the entirety of the auditorium stood up and walked down to the stage and threw their hats on the stage as if to say, I'm with I'm with going free. I am for serving white well-being. We're not listening to these support shaming, roadblocking pricks. It was a beautiful day. It was truly a beautiful day. Andre says, yep. So thank you very much. Super chat from Lady Mjolnir, and I assume probably the husband, both of you. Thank you very much for the kind super chat. So let's make sure I didn't miss anything else. I will, and then we will be wrapping up. I thank you all for the effort that I made to acquire the painting, and the thanks for that, so that we could have a proper way to commemorate Remembrance Day on the wall behind me. Okay, looks like we're good all there, and looks like we're good here, I believe. If you have super chatted and it's not on Entropy, it's elsewhere, and I have not seen it or spoken to it, please tag one of the mods, let them know. Let's see. Really, are that diluted? Jason, that was an amazing speech. I guess something I was just saying. Thank you so very much. Yonash, I don't know where have all the flowers gone. Says has been translated into almost every European, I guess, language and some non-European languages. Do I like it? I don't think I recognize it from the title alone, but I will look it up. Thank you. All right, let's. LG says the painting is beautiful. Thank you very much. Andre says great stream. Let's talk about Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. We can kind of all bring them in. Now, of course, Remembrance Day, ladies and gentlemen, if you are unfamiliar, it's practiced in a great many countries. It's a memorial day to remember those who served and fell, of course, in the line of duty. I want to say this. In the white positive sphere in general, there is this push, and I don't know if perhaps it's done by idiots and anti-whites, but this push to shame those who have gone off to do their duty for our countries, our individual countries. This is ignorant. If you've done it in the past, stop. These people, unless they say to you that, oh, the reason they joined the military was because they wanted to go fight for some other little country somewhere. They wanted to go make the world's increase the hegemony of some country somewhere else. Unless if they say something like that, they're anti-white pigs. But if they answered the call of duty because they were gullible, because they were deluded, we are a gullible people. The gullibility is genetic in us. We have to work to overcome it. And there have been many arguments made for why we are gullible, that we were able to live in very difficult environments because when the stranger showed up and we were all at some point in bad states. We all had planned for horrible years, horrible winters, and yet accidents happen, things go wrong, and we turned to absolute strangers, although members of our racial family. And the people who survived then were the ones who would hear the story and believe the story of what went wrong. And they would welcome them in, and they would help them through the rest of the harsh winter or whatever it was. And they ended up living and reproducing as a consequence. I have worked in many jobs, done management of many jobs where there have been sale environments. Every white person is gullible as all hell. I would have to bend backwards to help them understand exactly what they were getting into, exactly what they were signing, exactly what they were buying. Whereas the non-white people would come in and they have an instinct to disbelieve, an instinct to think that you're a liar, an instinct to look for the hidden piece. Where's the knife that's going to stab me in the back? They have an instinct for that. The only time that I didn't see that in non-white people, and I'm not saying that one is good and the other is bad, or we can only say that the gullibility is bad in us for sure because we're able to be had as a result of it. But the only time I didn't see it is in very young non-white people. They could be misled like adult white people can. They can be made to, it's unbelievable what your average white adult can be made to believe. It is just truly, no wonder they are always had by wild financial schemes out there. No wonder so many bought into this idea that you were going to buy the bundle of the bank's mortgages and somehow that would work, bad mortgages, and somehow that would work out good for you. No wonder, because we have this instinctual gullibility that we have to consciously override. So we cannot, it is cruel, it is wicked, it is wrong, it is deleterious for helping our people go free to condemn those of us who, acting on that noble spirit in their hearts, have answered the call to duty, have said, I believe what is being told to me by the authorities, that our survival is at stake. And I am going to answer heroically that call, that beckoning. For that, we should salute and thank every one of them. At the same time, appreciating and understanding that they need to be enlightened as we are enlightened. They need to be allowed to go free as we are going free. They need our hand to take them on this journey, as we here have offered our hands out to you to go on this journey of going free. We can love, honor, and respect these people, thank them for their sacrifices, whether they left their bodies on a foreign soil or our own soil, and simultaneously accept and acknowledge that they were led around by the nose and promise that we'll never let that happen again. That is what we should do. This idea that we should never thank our service people for their service, they're not answering the call to service. If somebody, now we're mature people, we're adults. You can see the difference. If somebody has gone into the military because they would have otherwise been homeless, if they say, well, I went into the military just because I needed an education. If somebody says they went into the military because they felt it was their duty to serve their nation, you should thank them for that. There was now I'm not, if I have children, I'm definitely not going to be permitting them, and God, Lord willing, I do. I'm definitely not going to be permitting them to serve the United States military, because I know what's going to happen to them. I know that their body is going to be left in pieces for some anti-white agenda. They'll know the truth. They won't be misled by the anti-white elites. But if somebody has answered that call to duty because they were deceived, but it was still of purest heart when they did it, you damn well better thank them for that. And then say, brother or sister, whatever they might be, I've got something to tell you. Thank you for that sacrifice. Thank you for that noble spirit that, as I was about to say, I had in my family, that we believed that at least one of all children for each family has to serve in the military, because freedom isn't free. Somebody has to buy it for everybody else. Now, we don't have freedom anymore. So that old virtue that used to run through families like mine in service to this government in the United States is no more. And there are many scores of thousands more that virtue doesn't run for anymore. Now they're turning to us where it has meaning. Thank them for their service. Let's remember all of our fallen heroes on both sides of every conflict. Let's remember that whether they were fighting for one thing or defending one thing or fighting for another, or there's disagreement over what they were fighting for, they were both our brothers. They should not have been fighting each other at any step in our history. We will remember them both on both sides of the conflict for the heroism that both answered the call. And we will remember them for the lives that they laid down for what they thought was right. That is what we do in service to white well-being. I feel, and I want you all to feel this way as well, a boundless love for every white man, woman, boy, girl who died in any conflict on both sides of those conflicts. A boundless love. And that's hard, I know, for a lot of us. It's hard for somebody like me who grew up in the Southland, loving my people's heritage, loving my history. And everywhere I go are the battlefields where wave after wave of our white brothers came down from the United States. And we slaughtered each other again and again and again, soaked the earth red with each other's blood. And they just kept coming. And we won the majority of battles, far more battles than they did. And we won far outnumbered battle after battle. And they kept bringing them our way. Wave after wave of our young white men to slaughter in the fields of Virginia, all around where I grew up. I love every white man who stood up and every white family. Who lost loved ones, as my relatives who fought for the South. And I love those who were sent down from the United States. So the new meaning we have is that fundamentally we are the same. No matter the name of our country or the flags we bear, languages we speak, or the little differences in cuisine that we have. From now on, Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, from now on, it's going to mean a couple things new for us. The first is just that we are the same, a single people with many countries. That is what the red poppy is going to mean for those of us serving white well-being. It is going to remind us that we had been duped and we will never be gullible again. It's going to always remind us of that gullibility that is instinctual in us, this willingness to believe that the other person is just like us, would never lie to us in this situation, would be honest to us in this situation, would want to be treated fairly as we would want to be treated fairly in this situation. The red poppy, Remembrance Day, is going to remind us of our instinctual gullibility. The red of the red poppy is our blood, our biospirit. It is what unites us when all of these invisible lines divide us, that our petty chieftains have set up over the eons and epochs. The red poppy, Remembrance Day, is going to remind us every time, and all of this is in addition to remembering our heroes, and this is the light in which we remember them. It's going to remind us of the supreme monumental villainy of the anti-whites that led us against each other time and again in these wars, these brothers' wars, these wars of self-destruction for their victories, for their enrichment, this internecine wars that the anti-whites won time and again. You think your country won when you carved that little invisible line across the ground? When you sowed that trough with the blood of your white brothers and sisters, you think your people won? Look in the halls of your governance now. Your country didn't win. The anti-whites won all of those wars. Let that red poppy remind you of all the blood spilled by way of that monumental, or those monumental villainies. Let it be a visual promise that we will never strike down our fellow Westmen ever again, with the only exception that they be anti-white. We will never go to war against each other ever again. It is a visual promise to each other in each of our countries that never again will we allow anti-white leadership to rile us up, to make use of our gullibility, to wield us as great hammers against each other, to smash us to pieces so they can get richer on top of the heap. And finally, it will be this. Let's let that red poppy, all of those red poppies, for us and for a growing number every year from here forward, it will be a promise and a warning to the anti-whites. It won't be just our blood in the future, you bastards. If the victimization continues, we will defend ourselves no matter what it takes. That is a promise. We reject violence. We reject that good will ever come from violence. But we promise we will always defend ourselves. And when we wear that red poppy, we remind you bastards of that. So let us all have these thoughts in our minds from now on during Remembrance Day when you wear that red poppy. Don't let the queen in this country or the king in that country tell you what it means. Don't let some anti-white historian tell you what it means. We decide what it looks like to serve white well-being. And in our book, this is what the red poppy means now. We will have longer memories yet than even those little groups who continue to this day to wield so much power. We will remember all of the horror that all the anti-whites have inflicted on us, and we will never forget it. Let me see what you all have to say. Happy Remembrance Day, whatever you say over there in the UK. Happy Memorial Day. From now on, this will be Veterans Day. We will say the same for all of these. Remember the same, think the same for all of these. I will see if you have any more questions. We will check entropy now. Last PaleoCon, super chatting $5 over here over on YouTube. Thank you so much, my dear friend. Proud of my white heritage and ancestors. Also, super chatting on YouTube. Last PaleoCon, $2. Writing, love your channel. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much. I will, my good brother, and you keep up with us. All right. Let me get a drink of water, see what you all have to say, and then we're going to sign out. Mandy says, a mod needed in D Live. A mod needed in D Live. Well, let me go ahead and open up D Live as I refresh these. I guess the anti-whites have made their way over there, and we should go ahead to start to handle things on D Live. Let me see. Well, how do... There you go, Raymond. Have at it. I think you're a moderator now. And then we will see if we need any others over there. All right. Hello to everybody over there on D Live. I guess I'll do this chest thing. I'll do it. I guess I'll do it now. And we shall see what happens. Let's see if anybody else is over here. Mandy says, almost 3 a.m. in Europe. Thank you for staying up with us. Make sure you remember Remembrance Day the way we are going to remember it from now on. Heidi says, thank you. Any other questions? Any other comments? I'm going to read this poem and we are going to a cold reading. I hope I will do it justice. And then we will sign out. Jonas says to listen to that song that he mentioned. All right, looks like the treasure chest thing worked on D Live. So let's see what else we have here. I don't see if my mods on YouTube have seen questions or comments that I've missed and you want to bring my attention to it, please feel free to do so as we wrap up here. And I will make sure that we are good to go on these other platforms. Make sure that we haven't missed anybody. All right, looks good on these other platforms. I'm excited about the coming week, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go out into the world. We're going to have, let's see, tomorrow we'll probably do some sort of premiere. I don't know what yet, but that'll be, pardon me, broadcast on, if I do it, which I probably will, but we'll see. It'll be broadcast on No White Guilt. It'll be a premiere there, but then it will be live streamed to the gardening channel, where I see a bunch of you who have stuck with us. Thank you for being here. And all of these other platforms, including D Live. This is something that is avant-garde. If you haven't noticed, Jared George and I do a lot of things that are originals, that others haven't done before. We do this because we are the creative white race. We're tapping in to the geniuses that run through our veins, that run through our biosphere. You all have this talent and this ability within you. You all are so much more than you realize. It is definitely something that chagrins me on a regular basis when I see my white brothers and sisters capable of so much talent undermined all around me by anti-whiteism and the anti-white narrative. A fraction, not half, just a fraction of what you have the potential to be. All of it because of those mean pathogens that are undermining you, your success, your health, your intelligence, your access to what and who you truly are. Looks like we have it all wrapped up, all the questions, and no super chats have been missed. JT Smith says, brilliant stream, Jason. You work so hard for our people. Your consistency of quality is exceptional. Thank you so much. I salute you, JT Smith. You're here all the time in this participant, and that's what we are here in Service to White Wellbeing, participants. We are not observers. This isn't just for entertainment. We are going free. We are changing the world. We are going to recapture our destiny. Heidi, your numbers have jumped up now since you addressed D Live. Thank you. Not trying to sound like an infomercial, though. Well, I'm glad the numbers have jumped up on D Live, and we will pay more attention to D Live. And if there's Fred, great to see you. Thank you, and good night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, looks like this is about it. I am going to read this poem. We're going to do a cold reading. I will try to do it justice. As I said, I've only read it. This is The Soldier, Rupert Brooke. And this is in honor of Remembrance Day and all of our heroes from all of our countries. Not just, of course, this is, I think, okay, so yes, this is obviously about just England. So, but this is for all of us, no matter the country, no matter your native land, the invisible lines are drawn around. We are one people. We are all brothers and sisters. I love you all, and let's never forget that. Let's always make this new meaning that I talked about for Remembrance Day. Let's always put this at the forefront, and let's talk about it with each other. Let's talk about it with strangers when we're out and about. Let's remind each other regularly, because we are changing our destiny. We have to change our lives. We have to constantly remind ourselves, because there's going to be this influence from the external constantly feeding into us, telling us that no, it's their story that is our life. No, indeed, it is our story that is dominating our lives. We will continue to remind each other every time, a gentle nudge. Remember, brother, remember, sister, this is how we view this certain thing. This is how we address this certain thing, not the way the anti-whites do it. Gentle nudges in the right direction, and we will get to the recapturing of our destiny. Elaine Sabatino for Null, Seaver Hamlin, Laura. Big thank you to Laura as well, as a gift to me, a thank you to me for inviting her to the James Edwards Conference. 15 years serving our people on the air. She bought me this beautiful assortment of soaps and shaving cream from the Mighty Whitey soap company. The smells are aromatic. It is it's divine. It is the stuff of gods. It is truly amazing. I haven't used any of it yet because it smells rather so magnificent. It is quite the bouquet, even before I got the box open. So thank you very much for that, Laura. I wanted to make sure I said that publicly. So the leftover saying good night, and great to have you here. Freya, so many good folks. Red Pill Bulgaria. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read this poem, and then we will wrap up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here for White Wellbeing. Thank you for your service to White Wellbeing, and let's make this week a productive week. Get out there and speak to your friends and family about what's happening. Okay, and now, in remembrance of all of our fallen and all of those who answered the call to duty in every country, all of our white brothers and sisters. If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam. A body of England's breathing English air, washed by rivers, blessed by sons of home. And think this heart, and all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less. Give somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends and gentleness, and hearts at peace under an English heaven. Let's go free.